Hey everyone, we're back. Welcome back. Let me know who's in Florida. Who's in the path of Irma? Hi Matt. Hey Boston. I see you, John, in Pensacola. Let's see, Pensacola. Yeah, that's kind of in the north. You're not a direct. Oh yeah, it's probably gonna scrape through there for sure, Matt, in South Carolina. Yeah, I've been watching some videos of that thing today, going through the Virgin Islands and stuff, and yeah, looks pretty scary, man. You guys be safe in Florida. I don't know who's all evacuating, but I've heard different people doing different things. Some people are just hunkering down. Some people are leaving. I heard that Richard Branson from Virgin, all the Virgin products, is on Necker Island. And he said they were taking a direct hit, but they were just going to go down into the wine cellar and ride it out with some of his children and their friends, something like that. William says, my sister and her family are in Florida, leaving now, heading to the mountains of North Carolina. Your place, cool. Yeah, North Carolina, the mountains would be good. Oh, Abraham, you're in Miami? That's going to be right there on it. Yeah, underground wine cellar would be the best place to be, actually. But I'd hate to come up, I'd hate to resurface and find nothing. It's kind of like in Texas, we have to deal with tornadoes, and they can be pretty scary up here where I live. But this year we didn't have, had one major one, but for the most part, everything else was doing pretty good. Hello, Gregory from Atlanta. Doug from Tampa. You're going to get wet, Doug. Yep, put up the shutters, Abraham. My sisters live in Tampa, and I can't find anything to buy like water or sandbags. Yeah, I bet there's a big run on everything, Leonardo. I know whenever Hurricane Harvey hit in Houston, some of those gasoline plants all down there on the coast got hit pretty hard too and shut them down. And like for 24 hours, there was no gas in my town. Everyone panicked and started buying up all the gas. I had to drive 30 miles north on my last 30 miles of gas to find gas. It was pretty scary. Yeah, I ordered water on Amazon. All right, guys, let's shift gears here. We're about 5 minutes in here, waiting for everybody to come on and get their go-to webinar adjusted properly, speakers, headphones, all that kind of stuff sounding good. We're going to mix it up a little bit today. Mike says, my daughter's in Cuba right now and she won't leave. Ooh, yeah, yikes. It's going to hit Cuba pretty hard too. Samuel says, a few years back, a family left Florida to get away in Franklin, North Carolina. Their whole house was washed away up there when floods came through their valley from the hurricane. Wow. Yeah, the river's flooding is a huge deal when it gets up there into the north. I know in Houston, it wasn't just Houston, it was a 100-mile radius. The Brazos River just breached all of its banks and just flooded everybody out. And you know, a lot of times when you live that far away from a river, you don't have flood insurance, but it was just so bad that it just destroyed so many homes with no insurance. So pretty sad. It's going to cost a lot of money. And now this. All water on the shelves in here in Columbia, South Carolina are already gone. Got all mine yesterday before it was declared a state of emergency. Good job, Matt. Okay, guys. Let's see who else we got out there in the rest of the world. I see Quebec, Canada. Eric B. There's always a Canadian on our webinars. Who's from Europe? Europe. I need Europe and Australia now. There we go. Nigel from the UK. Dennis from upstate New York. Ron from Maine. Sylvie from Montreal. Austin, Texas. Jessica, Manchester, UK. Mike, Denmark. There's the first European. Siri, right on. New Zealand. Mike James. How you doing, Mike? Slovenia. Cool. Can't pronounce your name. Mitja. M-I-T-J-A. I didn't pronounce that correctly. New York City, Charles. Tell Brian, thank you for me. You really treated me right. Okay, Mike, cool. Cindy, Australian, right on. Robert, UK. Here comes all the Aussies now. Kim, Gold Coast. Craig from Arkansas. Martin from the UK. Early morning in Australia. Thanks, Julie. Canberra. I think that's Australia too. Hi, Chris. Philly in the house, says Nate. Chuck says hi. Chuck from Tennessee. Greetings from Vancouver.
Where's all the Albertans?
Yeah.
I know there's a guy that lives like in Leduc, which is like 10 minutes south of where I live, which is funny.
Yeah, right on. Hey, I know yesterday there was a guy on the call from St. Croix. Are you here today? How are you doing? I know that those islands got hit last night. Forgot to bring that up a minute ago. Mike McAkee, Vegas, baby. Bobby, Twin Cities. That Minnesota? Not sure. Martin from sunny Southern California. How you doing, Martin? Another Montreal. How you doing, Gordon? Will the replay go up before this is over? No, not quite. We're not quite that good yet, but the replay will. Replay 1 is up. Yes, Jeff. Replay 1 is up. Herc just sent you that link. The islands don't probably have. The islands probably don't have power back yet. Oh, very true. Thank you for that, William. Yes, TC is Minneapolis and St. Paul. I thought so. I have a friend that lives in St. Paul. He used to call it that. I'm in. Bet that's the first time you heard that before the webinar started. For real, I'm in. All right, Drew, you're in. Jim from Wisconsin, how you doing? Pete from New Zealand, how you doing? Thomas, Nuneaton, UK. No hurricanes here. No hurricanes usually hit over there, I don't think. They all hit here. And I guess they're called typhoons in Asia, right? See if I missed anybody up here. Nope, got everybody there. All right, well, we have got triple digits on, another few hundred people on today, so that's great. Exactly 9 minutes in, so let's get this show started. What I want to ask everybody right now is who was not, give me a 1 if you were not here yesterday. Let me see how many people. Okay, Dale, Leonardo, Bobby, Charles, Pierre, Debbie, Martin, you were here. Abraham, Gregory, John. Okay, so we have quite a few people. John, Gordon, Angelo, Jamie, Stephen missed most of it. Bobby watched the replay though. Okay, so that's cool. So there are quite a few people on here that missed yesterday's webinar. So what we're going to do today is we're going to sort of skip the intro on Brian. Brian has a lot of slides on who he is, where he comes from, and all of his accomplishments over the last couple of decades in the online world. But if you want to catch that, please go and catch the replay. Herc's showing you right now the replay page, and on the left is obviously part 1 from yesterday. So you can go back and watch that webinar as well. There's a lot of great content that Brian went over on that webinar. So make sure you get to that eventually. We ran a little bit long on that one yesterday, guys. Sorry about that, but it's well worth it. And then as you see, part 2 is going to be up a few hours after we end today. But what we're going to do today is we're going to briefly go over for the first 20 or 30 minutes of the what maps is all about from yesterday. Brian's going to go in through some more how to make money, some tips and techniques on some things that you can do to sell maps to some companies out there. And then we're going to go into some more training, and then we're definitely going to get to Q&A a lot quicker than we did yesterday. I think that's a pretty good rundown. You guys ready to get rolling? Let me get a mic check real quick here. Herc, I heard you speaking earlier. You sounded pretty good. Everybody hear Herc okay? I guess talk to him, right? Yes. Okay, good. All right. Last but not least here, I'm going to go ahead and, Brian, are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, coming in loud and clear. Everybody hears Brian too. I'm pretty
Awesome.
sure. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, all right. Well, let's get this party started. And Brian, we will pass the screen over to you,
All
and
right, guys.
let's get it rolling.
Let me know if you can see my screen. I'm going to go into slideshow mode here. Can you see it okay?
I can. It looks good.
All right, guys. So this is Brian Willey from mapsliftoff.com. I'll just give you literally the 30-second scoop on who I am. If you're not familiar with me, you weren't on yesterday's webinar. Local marketer since 2006, probably really going more back to 2003 with AdWords when I had to learn AdWords to survive. But I really ramped it up in 2006 when I was asked to join a local law firm in Texas that was doing $175,000 a year gross. Okay, so this guy bought a law firm, moved his entire family out, and found out that he was making more money as an employee back in California than he was taking home after, you pay the lights and secretary and all that other good stuff. So $175,000 a year is not much for a law firm. So within 4 years, almost entirely for maps and SEO strategies, we got him up to $1.2 million a year with a legal secretary, paralegal, and him, and that's it. And now, a bad month, like he actually cries to me sometimes. It's kind of funny when he's like, yeah, I collected $50,000 on Friday. It was kind of a bad day. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's crazy, right? So I really get excited about that kind of stuff, and that's what really set me in motion to want to work with local clients. And really, beyond that, really dial into what Maps is all about. How does Maps work? What makes it tick? Because I kind of realized early on we're in local, and that I could see the writing on the wall. People were going to reviews. They really wanted to see at a glance snapshots of what a business was all about, with reviews, the ability to call directly. And so when Google Places was introduced, I saw it as a huge opportunity to really learn. And back, honestly, back then, 8, 9, 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot to learn. You really didn't have to have much game, so to speak, but things have changed dramatically, as we'll see here. I went on to co-found a group called Local Client Takeover. I'm sure some of you have heard of that group. Largest local SEO marketing group in the world, 18,000 people and growing every day. That's a really fun thing to be a part of. I've trained over 500 agencies worldwide on Maps rankings, and I've become known as, quote, the Maps fixer for whatever reason, right? Because that's what I do. I'll dial in and get on the phone with people, and sometimes I can spot things that they're too close to. They can't see it, and I'll say change this, and we fix the listing and it ranks, right? Sought after speaker consultant on all things Maps. So really quickly, here's a few results that I've achieved for some of my clients over the years. And by the way, when you rank really well on Maps, here's the cool thing, guys. Your clients do not want to leave you ever. And this is more true today than ever before because Maps has really taken over local entirely. Organic is still important for sure, don't get me wrong. But the first place people look and the first thing they see when they're searching for something is the 3-pack of Maps. And if you can be in one of those coveted 3-pack positions, the phone rings like crazy. Your clients don't want to leave. I've had clients with me 7 years, 8 years. I have clients who won't make a move from a marketing perspective that have nothing to do with Maps, nothing to do with SEO. Hey, Brian, should I get in this directory? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's $200. Do what you want to do, right? But they won't make a decision because they rely on me as a marketing partner now because I'm the guy that sends the phone calls, right? And that's a position that you want to be in, the person that can send the phone calls. So here's just some results that I've achieved for really pretty high competition keyword terms. Like these are big money AdWords terms where these clients haven't left Maps in years. I don't care what algorithm shift has happened, they just don't leave Maps. So you can see divorce attorney, #1, large population. Second screenshot, another large population divorce attorney. I work with a lot of attorneys, by the way. Bankruptcy attorney, big money keyword, guys, big money AdWords keyword. This guy's not left Maps in 7 years, right? Do you think I've been able to charge more and more and more and keep my position? Yes, in an era of what I call SEO commodities, right? As SEOs and local, we're commodities. People will price shop the hell out of you and move to the next person who offers them a better deal. You don't want to be in that position. So really quickly, here's totally different niche, auto repair, population 5 million, very large, competitive keyword term. Number 2, psychologist, number 1, endodontist, population 1.3, number 3. Drug rehab is hugely competitive. People will pay $400 or $500 per call on drug rehab because the lifetime value of a patient to a drug rehab clinic is massive. All right, so that's a little hint right there, is if you can get, whether it's rank and rent, pay per lead, you name it, or just go out and get clients in the drug rehab space, they will pay you a lot of money because it's very competitive, extremely competitive. And this is just a client that's been with me for years and years, commercial real estate. Again, one of those examples, and hasn't left Maps in 7 years. He's been in the 3-pack forever. All right, so enough about that. Quick question for you guys. Who's ready to learn a bunch of different ways to make money by landing clients simply by identifying problems that local businesses are facing right now, today, and really what I call becoming their white knight? So type in the chat, yes, if you're ready to learn a bunch of ways that you can actually take what I taught you yesterday, and I would encourage you to go watch that replay because there's a lot of meat in that replay as far as, exactly the things you need to do to be prepared to rank for Maps. But what I want to focus on today is, hey guys, how can we take what we learned, roll up our sleeves, and identify businesses that are making, that have problems, like they're actually hurting right now. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean and how we can kind of like swoop in and take over and just show them exactly where the problem is. I'm going to show you quickly how to identify these problems, and then how we can turn that into an opportunity or a conversation where we can make money. And the reason we're going to be able to make money is because nobody else can spot these problems. I'm going to tell you this a bunch of times probably during this webinar. You might get sick of hearing it, but half the battle is you have to spot the problem and understand the pain that that potential client is going through. People buy more on pain than they do on pleasure. That's been proven, right? They'll do anything to get out of pain, but they won't take steps to quote unquote get into pleasure. That's why all medicines sell like crazy, or cures for cancer and all these different things, because people want to get out of pain. So you have to understand a little bit of sales psychology. So in a minute, what we're going to do is we're going to go live to Google, and I want to show you, a bunch of money-making tricks that I know how to do with Maps. And they're not, one of them is kind of a really fun thing that I'm going to show you that can happen extremely quickly and is almost seems like magic to a potential client. But some of these are, they're a little more involved, but I can tell you with certainty that they will make you money. So number one, the first thing we're going to talk about is my quote, "Your business is playing dead on Possum filtering strategy" demo, okay? And I'll show you what Possum filtering is all about, live in action on Google, and how it gives you huge opportunities to present a really quick analysis to hundreds to even thousands of businesses by just, again, identifying a problem and then talking to them, because these guys were very likely ranking very, very well under this old blended algorithm. Okay, I'll talk about really quickly again about what the blended algorithm is about, why that's important. Every starting point for these analysis that we're going to do is the blended algorithm. All right, so I told you yesterday it's important. I'm going to show you in action why it's important and how it makes you money. Number two, we're going to dive into my "you've been pushed down into more places" displacement strategy. So this is where somebody was very likely ranking in the 3-pack, but now after Possum hit in September of 2016, has been pushed down. So I'm going to show you how you can identify those issues and how you can reach out to those people and show them how to fix it, show them what happened. A variation on that theme is you've been pushed down into more places because Google is rewarding essentially a non-player. So it's a little bit different strategy. So what this one is all about is a different part of that possum algorithm we talked about yesterday, which was you used to have to be in the city center to be able to rank in maps. Google was kind of dumb. There's no better way of putting it. Their algorithm could not figure out that they should rank people who are on the outskirts of town, yet still in town. So they just said, oh, we'll just rank, you know, people that are in the city center. So what happened under Possum was that's no longer a factor. Google's algorithm evolved and got smarter, but what happened is these non-players that I referred to them as, who were nowhere near the 3-pack guys, like they might have been on, you know, page 10 organically, nowhere near the 3-pack, suddenly are being rewarded by being thrown in the 3-pack. So I'm going to show you how to spot those guys, and you know, the strategy is not what do we do with those guys, right? Again, good for those guys, they made their way in, but the strategy we're going to be talking about is somebody has always been hurt or displaced by the people that have been rewarded. So that's what I'm going to show you how to spot. Who was likely ranking before, who's now been displaced and why, and how you can identify that, how to identify the problem, and different conversations you can have with them to really gain trust very quickly and get them to want to hire you. Again, it goes back to no SEO can identify these problems. I'm going to prove that to you in just a few minutes here. And we're going to go into really my personal favorite strategy. We're going to kind of spy on our competition here. This is fun. This is your competitors ranking for these major categories, and you aren't strategy, all right? So it's kind of like the nana strategy. You can kind of dangle this over your prospect and just show them how that. Like, let me preface this by saying, businesses hate when their competition is doing better than them, right? And when you can prove to them live that your competition is doing better than you, and I know exactly why. Oh, and by the way, I can fix it and I can prove it all in a few-minute conversation, which I'm going to show you. They want to hire you. You gain trust very, very quickly. So I'm going to show you live how we can sometimes get rankings for category keywords in GMB in as little as 3 seconds. Does it always happen that fast? No. So I'm walking on a little bit of a tightrope here. I've seen it take 3 hours sometimes. But typically, I would say 3 seconds to 3 minutes is pretty average, where I'll show you the strategy, and we can be ranking for a major category keyword that we weren't before. And then I'm going to show you how to spy on your competition using that strategy to identify what category keywords they're lacking, and then show them what their competition is winning or beating them out on, and how we can compare the two live on the phone, in a video audit, in a cold outreach email, and just say, look, I can show you exactly what's going on here, why you're not ranking, here's why your competition's ranking. Does that sound good, guys? You want to learn some money-making strategies? Just give me a 1 or a yes in the chat box. All right, cool. So let me see here. And also, Herc, you know, put me on the spot. Thank you very much, Herc. But I don't care, because I use PSV2 all the time as part of my ranking strategy. So I'm going to show you actually one of my sites that I have PSV2 installed on, and in fact it doesn't have a lot else on it, and it's ranking pretty darn well. So I want to show you how that's been integrated. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so before we actually cut over to Google, I want to do a really quick review of the blended algorithm. All right, we talked about this yesterday. This is very, very important. Why is it important? It's important because it's going to be the starting point for all of the money-making strategies that I'm going to give you today. So you have to understand what the blended algorithm was, and still is to some extent, to be able to identify what then went wrong when the Possum algorithm hit in September. Fair enough? I promise not to, to bore you with this stuff, but it is very important to understand, so I'm just going to spend a minute or two to refresh your recollection here. So again, remember, half the battle is identifying that a business has a problem, and almost no SEO out there can even spot a problem. I was just paid thousands and thousands of dollars as a very high-paid maps consultant after a person in New York City was filtered. So I'm going to show you filtering in a minute, right? He went through 4 other SEO consultants. A couple of them are actually big maps consultants who couldn't even spot the problem at all, that he'd been filtered under Possum. And so he was frantic. He's literally losing calls every single day. Finds me. I don't even remember how he found me. We get on a call together, and I said, "Oh, you're filtered," right? And I proved it to him right on the phone. He hired me to go out and fix this stuff. Thousands of dollars, guys. So we're talking big money, and can lead to ongoing business, but you have to spot the problem. So really quickly, blended algorithm. This is just a quick review from yesterday. Here's what the blended algorithm is, and this is what you need to know so that when we dive into these strategies, this will be our starting point. All right, so the blended algorithm is this. If you go back before the blended algorithm was in play, your ability to get ranked on maps had to do almost entirely with you threw up a listing, and I literally mean almost like thrown up, because like people will say, oh, it has to be optimized. No, it really didn't need to be even that optimized. And you had more citations than your competition. So long story short, Google decided, hey, a couple years in, that's not a good user experience. People, SEOs, local businesses themselves can game the system simply by buying more citations. Not good for anybody, right? So you were able to game your way to the top. So what they started to do for about the next 6 years up until September, I call the blended algorithm. What do I mean by that? There's an algorithm that controls organic. So all the organic results that appear below maps I refer to as just the local organic SERPs, right? Search engine results page. And everything above is maps. Well, they were controlled by two different algorithms, two very different algorithms. Well, what Google did is started to figure out how can we blend those two together and reward people who are playing by the rules and are essentially ranking very well organically. In other words, their thinking at the time was, hey, if you weren't playing by the rules, in other words, you didn't have your on-page optimization on point, you didn't have really good quality links, and you weren't playing by the rules, well, you wouldn't make your way to the top organically, and therefore, you wouldn't be able to make your way into the maps pack, because if you did, right, that's blending of the algorithm. When you reach the top 3 spots, or even really it went deeper than that, sometimes anywhere on page 1, but typically the top 3 spots, top 6 spots. Once you got into those kind of coveted positions, the algorithm would blend together with the maps algorithm, and you would make your way into then what was a 7 or 10 pack, and then about 2 years ago what became a 3 pack. So they took away a lot of real estate and made it even harder. Now there's only a 3 pack. All right, so does that make sense, guys? I want to make sure before we move on, I'm going to hop over here and just open this little questions box and make sure that makes sense. All right, cool, I'm getting ones, yes. I just want to make sure that makes sense, because before we move on, that's the core that you have to understand, all right? All right, so that's all it is, guys. It's just blending those two algorithms together. You had to be at or near the top to get into maps. So we're going to talk about why that matters. When you're, if somebody was very likely at or near the top and still is organically, they were very likely in the 3 pack. So guess what that presents for us, guys? An opportunity where we can look at the people organically who were very likely in the 3 pack before, and now they're not after Possum, and that presents an opportunity to identify why, who won out in place of them, who displaced those guys, and then how can we, you know, go to the person who is displaced, who is very likely, by the way, used to getting phone calls. Remember my guy from New York City who called me after 4 different maps people and paid me thousands of dollars. Why did he do that? Because he was feeling the pain of, I'm used to getting phone calls for 5 years and now my phone doesn't ring and I'm probably going to go out of business. And when you can identify these problems of, hey, you've been filtered or you've been displaced, and you can show them why, and by the way, you can show them, oh yeah, and I can fix that too, you're in, right? There's no longer some SEO conversation of, you know, you're pitching SEO, SEO, SEO. This is like you're being helpful and you literally seem like you're performing magic in front of them, right? So that's the blended algorithm. I showed you all that yesterday. So let me just forward a little bit through here these slides. And We'll get back to that in a second. I'm going to go over to Google right now, so give me 1 second. I'm going to cut away from these slides. And we're going to do a little analysis. Todd, give me, I can't see the question, so I just want to make sure you guys can still hear me. Just if you can unmute yourself and let me know if you can still hear me. Okay, cool. All right, got it. So let's talk about filtering really quickly. I'm going to show you a couple different ways that we can approach this. So filtering is one of the primary things that happened under Possum. So what filtering was all about, and I kind of went into a little more detail yesterday, is where you have, let's say, a personal injury lawyer that, and maybe you have 4 personal injury lawyers that were in the same building, you know, and let's say it's not even they're in the same office. Let's say it's a 9-story office building, and they're sitting up there in they do different areas of personal injury. They're different brand names, not associated, not affiliated with each other at all. They all happen to do personal injury in the same building. So enter Possum in September of 2016. One of the massive shifts that occurred is Google said that's not a good user experience for anyone to be able to show all 4 personal injury attorneys. So let's say all things being equal, all 4 of those people were highly ranked. 3 of them were in the 3-pack before because of the blended algorithm. And they earned their way to the top because they did what Google told us to do for 6 years, which is be the best. So you're at the top organically, therefore you're going to be in the 3-pack as well. All right, so enter Possum, where Google changed the rules completely and decided, no, that's not a good user experience, which, by the way, remember, anytime Google says not a good user experience, that means we're not making enough money from AdWords from it. So what can we change to screw people up so they have to buy more AdWords? Okay? Always keep that in mind. What's the end game for Google? AdWords, shareholders. All right? So what they did is they started to hide 4 of those people, or 3 of those people, and they would reward 1 of them. So in theory, that's how that works. You have, let's say, 4 injury attorneys at the same address. Google says 3 of them we're going to hide under more places, and I'll show you in a second. Being hidden is as good as being dead, like a possum, right? Playing dead. If you're hidden, you can't be found at all. Number 1, you're not in a 3-pack. Number 2, by some stretch of the imagination, some miracle, somebody decided to hit more places and drop down even further into the maps rankings and found you. They couldn't even find you because you're hidden. So that's filtering. They call it filtering because they're filtering you out of the results because they deem you to be not relevant. Make sense? All right, guys. So we don't want that. It goes deeper. It goes based on perceived affiliation between businesses. So kind of like the personal injury example. Now let's say that they are on the same street, maybe within 5 miles of each other. They're not affiliated at all, different brands, different addresses. They're not the same address, but Google still has overshot its algorithm, its filtering algorithm, and has many times decided to still filter out 3 of those players, even though they might be 5 miles apart on the same street. Why? Because they perceive an affiliation. Hey, they're all personal injury attorneys, right? They must all be the same. So again, don't think of Google as human beings doing this. The algorithm hasn't evolved to become smart enough. So let me show you this in action really quickly. All right, so I typed in Long Beach personal injury attorney, and the thing that I want to show you here is the starting point. Blended algorithm is always going to be our starting point, okay? So I don't start with maps. I start to look at who is at or near the top. Are they ranking in the 3-pack, yes or no? And if they're not, where are they now? Have they been pushed down? Have they been filtered? Were they displaced by somebody? So that's our analysis, all right? So I would start to glance at the results, right, and figure out who's the likely suspects. So if I look at this, I see Robert Finn in the 3-pack up top. I would want to see, okay, well, where's Robert Finn? And I think I want to say it's this right here. The way to look at it is just hover over website, Long Beach personal injury attorney. So it's this right here. That's Robert Finn. So that makes sense under a blended algorithm, yes or no, right? Does that make sense, guys? That he probably should be at or near the top of maps. If the blended algorithm held true, he's towards the top organically, Therefore, he's in maps. All good. That makes sense. What about McGee, Lear, and Associates? Website, Long Beach injury firm. Where are those guys? Number 2. Andy's number 2. Does that make sense? Personal injury, number 2 in the number 2 spot. Blended algorithm, completely holding true. All right, so now we have Michael Wax. So he's here. Now here's the interesting thing. Michael Wax, up until probably maybe a week ago or so, was nowhere to be found. He's just starting to crawl up onto page 1, all right? And depending on where you search from, you'll see Michael Wax or won't see Michael Wax. The thing that I want to draw your attention to is this firm down here called the Overt Law Group, all right? So these guys, up until probably several weeks ago, were very near the top, and at some point, up until probably 3 months ago, were in this spot right here, yet they were not at all in more places, okay? So the analysis is you would glance at who's up here in the 3-pack, figure out where's the correlation, where are they ranked organically. Is somebody outranking them or something like that organically? And then let's say, back to my analysis of the Overt Law Group, if they were still here and they're not here in maps, I would want to know why somebody like Michael Wax, for instance, sort of leapfrogged over Overt, right? So that's kind of the analysis. Why would somebody like Michael Wax leapfrog over Overt? So if I go into more places, now it's not going to do it for me here because for whatever reason, it's just, maybe it will. We'll see here. I just want to see. Let me just take a quick look, guys. All right, the analysis we want to do is the following. We want to see if Overt was likely in the 3-pack before because they were highly placed. Are they gone now completely? Are they filtered for some reason? Or are they pushed down? They've just sort of been pushed down in maps. So the analysis is once you hone in on who you think might have been displaced, you want to figure out how were they displaced? Why? Were they filtered, pushed down? Was there some other reason that they were that they're not there? All right. So what I would do is just look for the Overt Law Group. You can see right here they're here. Okay. Now here's the interesting thing. They keep bouncing in and out of being filtered. All right. So as I sit here today, they're not filtered, but it's been varying all the time. Literally, you can look at them tomorrow or a couple days from now, and they'll be filtered. All right, so they're in and out, in and out, in and out of being filtered. So filtered means if I went into more places and I didn't see them at all, and what I would do is I would go all the way down here and look at all 4 pages. If Overt did not show up in some way, the way that you would test filtering is you want to make sure that you go over to this little zoom sign right here and you click it 1 time, all right, like that. So let's pretend that they're not there. Like today they're here, but they're not now. And notice how when I did that, they climbed up on the results. Typically they're not even there at all. They're filtered out. So I could scroll through more places over and over and they won't be there. Today, for whatever reason, they're there. Sometimes they're there. So let's pretend they're not there. The way to figure out the unfiltering process is click that little button 1 time, and if they appear, then we know they're filtered. All right, so that presents an opportunity. If we knew that they were likely ranked pretty highly in organic, and very likely under a blended algorithm were ranked in the 3-pack, and they're now filtered, do you guys think, yes or no, that they are now not getting phone calls and that that's harming their business? And that you can probably do something about that by just letting them know that, hey, I've identified this problem. Like that's the exact scenario how I got hired by the guy in New York City because they didn't even know they had a problem. The other 4 maps experts had no idea there was a problem. All right, so if they appear, they're filtered. We want to know why they're filtered. This one's an obvious example. So look where they're located. Park Tower, 5199 East Pacific Coast Highway, or 5150, I guess. I'm not sure why this has moved somehow, but this is actually normally 5150. I think what these guys did is move their map pin for whatever reason, which I don't recommend you do to get unfiltered. Some people will try to teach you to move your map pin to get unfiltered. That's an improper way to do it. So again, up until very recently, these guys actually shared an exact building, 5150 Pacific Coast Highway. I think all they did is move their map pin because there's no way that they moved. Yeah.
Hey, I just want to jump in here because I see a bunch of questions that are kind of along the same theme, and people are like, how do you know where people were? And like, and I'm telling them, it's like, well, Brian looks at these keywords and these results all the time, but then they're saying, well, how would we know as new users if people ever were in the maps? You know what I mean? And does your course go through
that's a great question. Yes, it does. So I'm showing you an example here of one of how to identify filtering, how to like unfilter people, so that you can then have a conversation with them. But let's say that, you know, this is holding true. This whole maps pack right here is holding true. You would want to figure out, well, let me do a different example right here. This is actually a little more easy to explain, I think. Let me go back to New York personal injury attorney. Okay. What I want to do is I want to figure out, again, who's in the 3-pack, look at their website, and determine where they're actually ranking now. All right, so we have Union Law Firm, so they're right here. That makes sense that they're still in the 3-pack, right? All good for them. That's great. What about Perkman? Perkman Law, they are, where are they? So it doesn't matter. They're in the 3-pack. I don't see them. Rosenberg website, where are they? So we want to figure out where they're at. And in fact, I think they're like off on page 2, if I'm not mistaken. So the analysis we want to do is, if they're sitting over here, let's say on page 2, we want to look at who was basically displaced. There's all these players still on page 1 that were very likely in the 3-pack, and for whatever reason, it's not letting me go back. So let me just type this again. There's all these other people that may be higher up in the 3-pack. So under a blended algorithm result, you want to find the players that are not in the 3-pack. So we know these guys are. Well, what about these guys right here? Gagare or Gare or whatever. And what about Celio and Barnes? Right? So these would be my likely suspects, and what I would want to do is go into more places and figure out what's going on with them. Have they just been pushed down? So here's Celio and Barnes. Here's Gare, I think down much further, even though they probably under a blended algorithm should have been up much higher, yet they've been pushed down. So the analysis is, have they been pushed down further into more places? What do you do about it? Have they been filtered? If you can't find them at all, use that little unfiltering trick I just showed you. So like overt is a prime example. Right now it's showing up. It's because they keep showing up and not always showing up. But you would do that little unfiltering trick to see, hey, do they show up now? And if they show up now, then you can say they're unfiltered. So does that make more sense? The analysis is, you look at who's in the 3-pack, who's on the first page, and if there's anybody in between, let's say there's people that are ranking in the 3-pack who are on the 2nd or 10th page, yet there's all these players on the first page who are not in the 3-pack who likely would have been under a blended algorithm. That's what you're going to be looking for. So let me know if that makes sense. I want to make sure that that's clear. I'm getting some confused. I'm getting some yeses. Kinda. Okay. All right, so I'm getting a bunch of yeses, I'm getting a bunch of confused. So I want to make sure this is really clear, guys, because this is important. You want to always look at who is in the 3-pack. If they're ranking, good for them. Look at who is at or near the top organically, and we want to identify any gaps. So let's say, for instance, that Long Beach Injury Firm is sitting right here, and for whatever reason was not ranking in the 3-pack. That would be a very likely candidate to click on more places and ask the question, are they filtered? Were they pushed down because somebody else displaced them for whatever reason under Possum? They're now not the most relevant player. You know, then I might look at this person right here, likely candidate, right? If they're sitting at or near the top and we have Long Beach Injury Firm, now in this case they are ranked, the question becomes, There's all these instances out there where they're not. I get on the phone all the time with clients where they're ranked #1 organically, but not in maps. So that's what you're trying to identify. If they're at or near the top, I would actually start with maybe the top 3 to 5 people and figure out, are they ranked in maps? Great, move on. If they're ranked, 3 to 5 organically, if they're not ranked in maps, click on more places and try to figure out very quickly, #1, have they been filtered? So again, like Overt is a prime example where they are filtered a lot of times. Today they're not, okay? But they are many, many times filtered, which means they're not getting calls all the time, where they very likely were before, all right? So you want to look at whoever's near the top and then scroll into more places, in the top organically, then scroll into more places and figure out where they sit in more places. Did they disappear because of the possum filter, or were they pushed down somehow? Does that make sense? Does that make more sense? I want to make sure that that's clear.
There's another point I want to make here, because a lot of people are saying like, oh my God, this stuff changes so much, and there's so many new algorithms and changes to that. And that's the point of this webinar, guys. Yes, we all agree it changes a lot. Yes, we also know that Google is doing many things to change the way that maps listings, including ads and sponsored posts and stuff like that. Things are always changing. Anybody that's not comfortable with that, you should really, really be happy that you have a guy like Brian who's always been involved in maps. He's experienced all of the changes, so that when new changes come along, he's going to be a lot quicker to figure out what happened and why, and then be able to pass that information on to anyone that's in his course, right? So anyone that looks at this and is confused, Len, you need a good coach, you want to do maps as part of your business, Brian is a huge asset to that side of the business, and think about that.
Yeah, so it's that's the important thing, is that the algorithm shifts and the positioning can shift, depending on where you're located, things like that. So Overt, for instance, is one of those examples where I would say, every time that I check, I would say 75% of the time they're not there at all. You could click and you'd have to unfilter them. So what you're looking for are those examples of where somebody has been filtered. That's a really easy, obvious example where you look at whoever's ranking towards the top. If they're not in maps, you hit more places, and then you do an analysis based on one of a couple different things. Were they #1 filtered? So I would check, scroll through more places. If they're not there at all, do that unfiltering trick I just taught you, and if they appear, boom, they're filtered. Okay, so that's the end of the story right there. Then then the conversation becomes with them. I noticed that you're not showing up on maps, and I think I know why, and you can show them the unfiltering trick. Do a little video audit or something like that, and show them what's going on. Step 1 is you identify the problem, and if nobody else has identified that problem, which most people don't even understand the filtering process at all, you're in, guys. That really can help a lot. Step 2 is, if they're not filtered, that's fine too, because they could still be way further down in maps than they should be. Like my New York, let's look at New York City personal injury attorney. Okay, so we have a couple different players here, Hatch and Rose, Peckman, Cilio, and Barnes, and we want to figure out, is there any other likely candidate? I would look for Gare and Associates. They're towards the top, and I would want to look, are they filtered? #1, my go-to is, are they filtered, yes or no? If not, were they pushed down somehow? And
hey Brian.
Yeah.
We got 4 requests right in a row. If you could just show that, showing how to find if people are filtered or not again, could you just show that one more time for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say that I was looking at Gare and Associates. I would hop into more places. So let me just do that one more time for you guys. Okay, so let's say that I determined that based on their positioning here under an old blended algorithm, if that held true today, which it doesn't completely hold true today because things have changed under Possum, if I decided, hey, these guys are kind of a likely suspect, they probably were in maps before and now they're not, because all we have here is Perkman and Union Law, and then we've got Fine Law, which is not going to appear in maps. So the #3 spot organically very likely was in maps at some point in the #3 spot. And even if they weren't in the number 3 spot, even when there's a 7-pack, I can guarantee you they were somewhere near there, and spot 4 or 5. So if I were going to check for filtering that trick, I would go into more places, and what I would want to do is scroll through all of these listings and figure out where is Gare. They're actually here, so they're not filtered. But let's say I don't see them at all, right? I scroll through all the more places, and I just don't see them. There's a chance at that point that they've been filtered out. So the way you check for that is just stay on page 1 of more places, go over to this little zoom sign right here, this little plus button, and tap it 1 time, just like that. And if they're filtered, it will reveal itself. Essentially, Gare and Associates will suddenly show up. Now, did you notice how they leaped from, I don't know, 7 spots deep up into number 2 when I did that trick? Part of that has to do with what I talked about yesterday, which is like zooming in is kind of the equivalent of me being on a mobile device and getting closer, all right? So that's the unfiltering trick. But there's several other things that can happen. Even if they're not filtered, if they were very likely in maps because they were at or near the top organically, and you scroll into more places and you find them, I don't know, way down here somewhere, right? Let's say they're in spot 10. That's what I'm seeing a lot of. That's where people are also hurting, guys, where they were used to getting calls. Again, keep in mind that blended algorithm held true for 6 years. So if they're in spot 3, I can guarantee you they were probably spot 3, maybe spot 4 when there was a 7-pack in maps. They were getting calls. And if they're now in spot 10, it's as good as being filtered. They're not hidden entirely, but nobody's scrolling down the page to get to this position here to find a maps listing, to call somebody. So they're hurting as well. Why have they been pushed down there? Because now Google doesn't see them as the most relevant. Typically, it has to do with them not being seen as the most geographically relevant. So we talked a lot about yesterday geo in the webinar, and how important that is, how you've got to really up your game from a geographic perspective. So the point here is that the analysis is the same, the results might be different. The analysis is, the starting point is always who's at or near the top organically, and then if they're not in the 3-pack, we want to see where they're at. Have they been pushed down to, say, number 10, number 12? They need help just as much as the person that's been filtered. Have they been filtered? They need help. Have they been knocked out of their position because one of the other things under Possum that occurred is you no longer have to have an office in the city center. So remember, I think yesterday I told you, and I've been telling you today a little bit, the algorithm's a little bit dumb. The Maps algorithm's always been a little dumb in the sense that Google couldn't figure out how to show listings at all unless you were near the city center. Well, enter Possum, and that's all changed, where you could be on the outskirts of town. And what they've done is now they've thrown that person, what I refer to as a non-player, into the 3-pack. And again, good for them, right? We don't care about them. We're not going after them as a potential client. What we care about is the fact that they knocked somebody else out of spot number 3, who maybe is still in spot number 3 organically and was probably in spot number 3 in maps. Does that make more sense? To where essentially all we're looking for is who's been displaced. Why were they displaced?
Yeah, guys, I wanna just move this forward. Like, I know there's still a lot of questions that are happening, but we don't want, like, it's been shown. So if you guys have questions about it, just try and come and watch the replays, because he showed that filtering trick twice now, and people are still like asking to see it. But we really do want to get this thing moving forward a little bit, so we're just gonna just move on, and we'll do Q&A, of course, guys.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, there's many ways to look at this. There's were they displaced, meaning they were just pushed down? Were they displaced because somebody else snuck into their spot because they didn't, they're on the outskirts of town, and now Google's rewarding those people for whatever reason, so that's kind of part of Possum. Are they hidden entirely because of the filtering thing that's going on? So that's the stuff you really need to understand. But the cool thing is once you understand and identify this, you can very easily make a phone call, do a video audit, do cold outreach email, however it is you get clients, and show them that this is going on. You were very likely in maps before, and here's why. You know, and they're going to know that they were in maps, and I want to show you where you're ranking now, and I want to, you know, explain to you exactly what happened. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. I definitely want to move on a little bit because we've got a lot more training to go through. Let me hop back over to the slides really quickly, because I know a lot of you were on the webinar yesterday. We've got a lot of new people on the webinar. I've got training around all of this stuff, guys. Not only how to rank, but how to go after clients and nab those clients, you know, over and over again. And it's a thing called Maps Liftoff Agency Black. So let me just scroll down and show you this really quickly. It's a brand new training program. And essentially, it's everything that you need to know to rank maps listings in a world that seems chaotic and seems very displaced, right? So everything seems very disjointed and disconnected. We could rely on things for 6 years before where we could, with predictability, say, hey, if I'm ranked in the top 3 spots organically, I'm going to rank in the top 3 spots in maps, end of story, you know, with limited exception. And you enter the possum algorithm shift that I just showed you, and all these different things make things seem very, very chaotic. But the cool part is it's not as chaotic as it seems. There are ways to identify these things very clearly, and more importantly, how do you fix them? So once you identify them, you can lock down clients all day long. It's a matter of how do we go through and how do we fix them. So I've got a brand new training program that I want to talk to you a little bit about really quickly here called Maps Liftoff Agency Black. This is really, I call it Agency Black not because it's black hat. I do get that question from time to time. It's really because it's the premier training program that's on the market. It really, nothing else really competes at this point. Why is that? It's because this is what I've done live for many years with the largest agencies in the world. I used to get on the phone for 4 and 5 hours and train the biggest agencies on exactly step by step the processes that you need to do to actually make maps tick, to make maps work and actually get the rankings. And now under Possum, overcome all these problems that I'm showing you that exist so that you can actually not only go out and, you know, kind of wow a client to go make money, but then you have, you know, the stuff to back it up, right? It's one thing to sort of talk about it and say, yeah, here's the problem. You need to be able to fix the problem, okay? So that's what this program is all about, is not only identifying problems, but how to fix them and how to rank on maps every single time, all right? So let me just show you this program here. So Maps Liftoff Agency Black is a $1,797 value. That's not a made-up value at all. $1,800 is what I charged the agencies that I would train to get on the phone for 4 and 5 hours to do live coaching. This is actually better than what I did live. So you're probably saying, well, why would that be better than getting on the phone with you live? And the answer is that when I'm on the phone with somebody live, I'm on with a big agency, for instance. We have 4 or 5 hours to go through training. We're going to sit there and talk about their site, or maybe 1 or 2 of their sites. And maybe it's all, let's say it's physical storefront businesses like a lawyer or a dentist or something like that. But let's say that they're a big agency or even a medium-sized agency, and they also do a bunch of service-based businesses. Or they do, you know, they work with physical businesses who have multi-location sites. The key here is that the site setup is extremely different from a single location to a multi-location to a service-based business to a service-based business with several locations versus, you know, even if we wanted to take it further, service-based business, multi-locations with different service radius areas that have been set. So the benefit here is that I've been able to distill down hundreds of sessions that I've done in all these different fixes, right? I've told you I'm kind of known as the maps fixer, where I'm able to kind of spot the issues very quickly and say, oh, just change this, and this is going to get you to rank. And so what I've been able to do is distill this down into a video coaching program. It's an over-the-shoulder training that just absolutely destroys maps every single time. Like it's I'm going to show you in just a few minutes here some of the testimonials and stuff that have come in since I launched this program 3 months ago. Here's the thing, guys. I'm closing this down on the 15th of September. I don't want to get too big. I want to be able to work one-on-one with people. I want to be able to make sure that I can answer questions, and I don't operate the way that a lot of people do, where it's like, oh, let's get thousands of people in a program and then just ignore you. I've been known to message people on weekends and help them with their issues. So if I let this thing get too big, I just can't do it. So that's Maps Liftoff Agency Black, $17.97 value. I'm going to hand it over to Herc now. He's going to show you if anybody's interested in ordering right now. He'll show you how to do that process, and then we'll chat again in just a second here.
Do you know what I want to do before we do that, guys? Like, I see a lot of people asking, because we still haven't really covered the PSV2 stuff, and I know a lot of, let me just check out the chat box for a second here, Brian, while I do this. How many people are here to see the actual PSV2 setups through this map course?
Awesome. Cool. I'm seeing a bunch of ones. You guys want to see that?
Well, I'm doing this for you. I want to show you this. Okay, guys, stop typing yes now for a second. It's going crazy. Don't answer until I finish asking the question. I'm going to give you guys a choice. Give me a 3 if you guys want to see the buy link for the course. Give me a 4 if you want to see the PS2 training first. So a 3 for the buy link and a 4 for the PS2 training. Okay. So let's do that, Brian.
All right, so let's dive into the PS.
Sorry to like switch everything up on you.
Yeah, no worries.
People have spoken.
Yeah, I was going to come back to that, but I want to make sure you guys get all the training here. So what Herc promised yesterday was I was going to show you a site. And he's like, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Now, as SEOs, we're always a little reluctant to show all of our sites, because we do get, especially when you're in the public like this, you get a little bit of, you're subject to negative SEO and stuff like that, which, isn't fun. But look, I'm going to show you one. This is my wife's actual site here in Las Vegas. I live in a little, not little really, it's about 200,000 population, called Summerlin outside of Vegas. It's a suburb, and she's a personal trainer. And so here's the cool thing is that we're ranking pretty well, and I haven't really done a lot to this site in probably 4 or 5 years. I just installed PS2, Project Supremacy version 2, and did some of the geotagging and some of the just the schema data, and it's ranking pretty well. It's doing really well. Now, in an era of high competition keywords and after Possum, this doesn't happen quite as much, right? Like, in other words, you can't just throw up a site and add Project Supremacy and think this is everything, right? Project Supremacy is a very integral part of my strategy. I try to use it on almost every single site. But there is, and I talked about this yesterday, 5% of your ability to get ranked has anything to do with your listing. 80% has to do with what you do in structure on your site. And about 50% of that is geographic information that you're able to structure your site out with. But part of that is you have to have your schema data in order. So give me a 1, guys, if you're familiar with schema and Project Supremacy version 2 schema data and what that does. I've seen a bunch of 1s.
Oh no, your screen's not frozen. Never mind.
Yeah, I haven't been moving on that. Okay, so this is the back end of my wife's site here. I'm going to show you really quickly a couple different search terms. Now, again, I want to make it very clear what we talked about yesterday is holding true big time. If you watch yesterday's webinar, I showed you how there are different results depending on where you're sitting and whether you're on a desktop, whether you're on mobile, whether you're on Wi-Fi. So when I'm sitting over at my office, which is literally 7 minutes across town, this site is ranking for everything, guys. Why is that? Because I'm closer, my office is actually closer to this address right here. My office is in 89128 around the corner from where this is. So the rankings are not as good here. okay? Part of the reason is I haven't done anything to this site because my wife trains literally 2 people right now. There's no reason to do anything to it. I just haven't touched it, all right? So you need to watch that part of the webinar where I talk about all the different layered versions of maps that exist. It's absolutely insane. And so, for instance, let me just show you, I'm trying to figure out if I can unpin this question box, or if I can get this. Let me move this a little further over here. I want to show you Summerlin Personal Trainer. I'm ranking like #1 if I'm in 89128. All right, so let me just show you really quickly. But I'm not ranking sitting across town in 89129, 7 minutes away. Okay, so that shows you that you have to really up your game. I haven't done anything to this site that I teach in the training in terms of, you know, structuring out the site that can get me ranked all over town. But you need to understand that that's what's going on, where depending on the device you're sitting on and where you're at in town, you're going to get different results. In the training in Agency Black, I show you how to fix all of that stuff. The point here is I'm not interested in this because she trains 2 people and we don't really use it as a lead gen. So let's look at something like Personal Trainer Summerlin, Nevada. Let's see if she's ranking for that. Let's try Personal Fitness Trainer. So that's another pretty big keyword term, Personal Fitness Trainer, big population. So there she is, Personal Fitness Trainer Summerlin, Nevada, Personal Fitness Trainer Summerlin. And again, if I went across town, she's ranking for Summerlin Personal Trainer, all these different things. All right, so let's dive into the site itself, and I want to show you kind of Project Supremacy and how I've done proper schema markup and how you can use this and how it's part of the process that you want to be able to build in. The reason this site is ranking very, very well is this is a low competition keyword term in a kind of like, you know, not a big city. It's a decent sized city, but it's not huge. And so, and I have the benefit of it being an age site. I think it's been around for like 5 or 6 years. So if you're starting a new site or you've got any kind of high competition keyword, this is going to be one part of your strategy, okay? So you got to definitely watch the webinar where I talk about all the geographic stuff that needs to be built into a site to really make those big competition keywords tick. So this is the schema markup settings. You see Project Supremacy is installed over here. You've got all the different settings. I'm not sure, you guys may use this for a lot of different things, and you know, I know version 3 is going to just be have just a million different great settings that you can use. For my purposes, I tend to focus just on the schema markup setting, and you can see right here I've added schema markup. The proper way to do this is you want to make sure that you don't default to you know, to the default schema type tends to be like local business, right? So you could have you could choose local business as your schema type. What we want to do is get as specific as possible. So for instance, I work with a lot of attorneys. Mine is always going to be schema with personal attorneys. You can see here the schema type is exercise gym. So I just want to get as specific as possible with Project Supremacy by choosing the type of business that I have. If I can't find anything that's closely related, I would default to local business. Does that make sense? You're always going to want to go with the most, okay?
That should make 100% sense, guys, because I've always taught you that you always start with the most specific. If it's not there, then you work up one level, and you always do it that way. So it's good to hear Brian kind of support the same theory.
Yeah, it's extremely important, guys, because it's giving, again, you know, we want to prove everything to Google. Our ability to get ranked in Google is all about proof points. You have your listing on the one hand, which is about 5% of your ability to get ranked, and the misconception with SEOs, typically with maps in general, is I've done a quote-unquote optimized listing, I'm done. Now I just throw some citations at it, good, I'm going to rank. When in reality, 80% of your ability to get ranked is everything that you do on your site to support what you just told Google to be true inside of your listing. One aspect of that is proper schema data. So what we want to do is match that up. So if I just said local business, if that's all there is, that's great, that's fine. Don't you know, beat yourself up over it. If there's no schema type available for your exact business, default to local business. But if there is, go with it. All right, so all we're going to do is we're going to fill everything out properly, which I've done here. I've got descriptions. I've got my exact brand name is, as done on Google, right? As done on my citation sites. I want to make sure all that matches. Real sites have logos, right? So that's why built into schema, we show our logo. We want to tie in our map URL. Okay, so if I punched in this map URL, it should go over directly to my wife's actual Google map for Summerlin Fitness for Women right here. Okay, and again, that's why I'm ranking so well over in this area. I haven't done anything else to make myself rank across town, which I could do, but it's because my actual business office is sitting like 5 minutes away over here. So the next most important part of schema, maybe the most important part, when you say, Herc, maybe is the same as stuff. That stuff gets discounted a lot.
And you can now I don't know if I should say this on the webinar or not, but you can okay. First of all, let me start like this. The more legitimate you do things, the better it's going to be for you long term. Okay, I'll state that right off the start. The more legitimate you are, the better off. But we've also been kind of messing around with things like abusing the same as, meaning if you have an authority in your niche, so say like an actual lawyer or something that has a Facebook page and you want to borrow his authority, you can start marking same up as by borrowing the authority of others. Now, I'm not saying you should do this. You can do this. Stay legitimate, but it's just a fun trick to play around with for all the testies.
Absolutely, especially I would do that less on client sites because let's say that it ever got nailed. I would test it first on like lead gen sites, but definitely you can borrow the authority of other players in the industry.
Yeah, don't do it on you don't do it on client sites. Never do that shit on client sites.
But it is really important, guys. It's like one of those things that, remember, I talk about proof and lining things up. If you didn't see that part of the webinar, if you take nothing away from the webinar yesterday, it is get out of that because I told you true it's trap and line everything up. Your listing needs to match everything that you do on your site, and all of that needs to be in structure. So part of structure is structured data, which is schema. Part of structure, probably the other 70% of it, is all the things that you do to make sure that you point out to Google that, hey, what I told you to be true as far as my categories line up on my site exactly. What I told you to be true lines up as far as my brand name. All these different things line up over and over and over again. So what this is doing is just, it's making your brand line up, and it's forcing an association between your site, your GMB listing, and prominent sites. My wife has one of them, literally one, but you could have YouTube, and you should have things like YouTube, and I tend to use Google owned properties on these things. And I'll just stack in those different social profiles. Very important. You can do ratings, all that stuff. I haven't done it here, so just moving on. This is the really important part. All this lines up with my listing, right? And here's where the magic really happens, which gets overlooked a lot, is that geotagging is extremely important. Look at this right here, guys, inside of this map. Inside of the actual map itself, what do you think drives the Google's ability to show a map pin right here? Is it just address? Or do you think it's address and a combination of actual latitude and longitude? So it's so specific and so exact that that's what it's doing. So this needs to match inside of your site. All right, so Project Supremacy is able to do all that stuff. The other thing that I use it for is geotagging photos, but it's not just geotagging. What I call it is image optimization, and in the course I train 4 or 5 other things that you need to be doing besides geotagging. Geotagging actually gets stripped out of GMB once you upload it. I'm not sure how many of you know that, so you can go to the trouble of doing all this stuff on your site, and it may not make sense. When you go to upload it to GMB, and then let's say you re-download it and went, hey, where did my geotags go? Where's my latitude, longitude? They strip it out. So I teach you a lot about that in the course, about what to do and how to still retain all of that authority. So does that make sense, guys? That's how I use Project Supremacy. I've been able to rank, very well using that, mostly because it's a age site. It is a very low competition keyword term, and that's it. So if it was a higher competition keyword term, which a lot of people are going after, we talked about service niches the other day. You guys are starting to compete with home services with Google, basically pay to play. You've got to really up your authority on your site. So schema is part one of that. And there's about 20 other things you need to do on your site to make that tick. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, Herc, so where do you want to head now?
Okay. Yeah, hey, I'm back, everybody. Just a couple notes, guys. All that training about how to do basically the local schema, okay, or the specific, I shouldn't call it local, I usually call it local business, but local business is the top level, and then there's local business types like lawyer, doctor, dentist, whatever. Always be most specific, but the lesson on how to set that up is in your V2 membership area. We have like the lessons on how to set that up. So if you want to get like the more detailed stuff, definitely go watch that. But all of this, everything that we're teaching you guys, or everything that Brian's teaching you guys right now, I want to restate this, okay, because I still see these questions coming in. There's kind of parts to what's happening here. Brian's course, Maps Liftoff, guys, is an education on how to get ranked in maps. It doesn't have to be on WordPress, okay? WordPress just makes life easier, but it's an education on how to get ranked in the maps. Also, how to find out if you're filtered, how to find out if you're just pushed down, and how to correct those situations if you find that that's where they're at. All that stuff is taught in Maps Liftoff. Project Supremacy, and the reason that we bring it up, guys, is simply a tool, okay, that most of you have, that Brian uses to get those things done and make those jobs easier, specifically the schema and the geotagging of images and the structuring of sites. But you don't have to use Project Supremacy. The meat of what you're learning right now, guys, is all in the Maps Liftoff course. It's not in Project Supremacy V2 or V3. It's in the Maps training course. So if you guys want to learn at a really deep level, okay, what everything that Brian's been teaching, if you want to learn about that, that's the Maps Liftoff course, okay? And that's what Brian's on here kind of presenting. So let me grab the screen and I'll show you guys how to pick that up. And give me a one if what I just said makes sense to you guys, if you're clear on that. V2 is just a tool to help with the training that you're getting from the Maps Liftoff course. Okay, I got all ones here, so that's awesome. Yeah, okay, let me grab the screen here, guys. Yoink. Cleaner. Yes.
I promise I look a little prettier than that in person. That was a terrible picture of me, Eric. Good God.
Did I grab the worst one? It was the only one I could find of you in a suit.
That's a rarity.
Yeah. Yeah. Real entrepreneurs don't wear suits. Okay, guys. So the link, okay, if you want to pick up the course and learn how to do all this shit, is projectsupremacy.com/mapsliftoff. Okay, right here in yellow. Okay, now here's the coupon. I'm going to show you right now how to get this coupon. So this is going to be the course. If you want it, click here to order. It's $4.97, guys, but with the coupon, that's only going to be on for another 8 hours. Take this coupon right here, HercandTodd50, stick it in here and click apply, and that's going to knock 10% off the course. That coupon, guys, is only going to be available for another 8 hours and 40 minutes, okay? Also, the course pricing at $4.97, we talked about this yesterday, but Brian is literally taking this course off the market. It's either going to be turned into a way higher priced private coaching so that he can work with less members, get more results, or he's going to just take it off the market altogether. He's not sure, I don't think, what he's going to do with it. The one thing that is for sure, this course is going off the market at $4.97. Literally, Todd and I will be the last people Brian allows to promote this course, okay? So we wanted to show you that. That's how you get it. It will be open for longer than 8 hours, but the $50 coupon is going away in 8 hours, guys. So you have 8 hours to make your minds up about that. Then the last thing I want to show you, okay, so I saw one interesting question for a guy that was actually, I answered his question. He said, you know, is this a good investment for me and myself and mine and my wife's mortar business? That's a hard question to answer because number one, we don't know what your mortar business is about and stuff like that. But you have to ask yourself, okay, am I willing to spend $447 to learn a strategy or a pile of strategies that could potentially bring me a hell of a lot more customers? That's something you'll have to ask and answer for yourself. But $447, guys, how many sales of your items that you're selling do you have to make to cover that? It seems like a no-brainer to me, to be honest. $447. Some of these leads and some of these businesses, $447 is an absolute joke. Okay, like a dentist or a lawyer, or I don't know what you sell. Maybe you sell solar panels, or maybe you sell gardening. I don't know what it is, but $447 typically to get the knowledge to be able to do these things for yourself and then forward on into your business for your clients is such a no-brainer price. It's literally so cheap. And then the last thing I want to say, as an example of how good of a value is this, Brian, do you have that slide? There was a guy on the webinar yesterday. Let me see if he's actually on here because I want to put him on the spot if he is, who bought the course yesterday, guys, and already made a friggin' massive deal. Let me just look up, and I'm going to send you. Let's see if he's on. Oh, he's not on here. Damn it. Okay, so Brian, can I get you to load up that slide? And I want to pass you the you the map so that you guys can see this.
Yeah, come on over and hand it off to me, and I'll show you. Did you hand it off? I can't see, so the panel went away.
No, it's coming here. I just pressed the wrong buttons. Here we go. Okay, there you go. Guys, check this out. Okay, what Brian's going to show you, this was a guy literally yesterday that bought the course. Okay.
All right, guys, so this literally came in. I'm not going to mention his name. It came in earlier this afternoon. Somebody was in the Kajabi members area. And you can see I just sold a contract for $15,000 1 hour after the webinar yesterday. So I just wanted to say thank you for helping me turn 500 into 15,000. I've got the contract to prove it. So guys, this is I mean, that kind of stuff blows me away still, right? I get these kind of messages all the time. But when somebody like actually took the knowledge from a webinar yesterday, and he bought the course too, took one little tidbit of knowledge and went out and sold a $15,000 contract from a $500 course, I mean, that, I was super excited about that. So, he felt compelled to send me a message through the members area. And I just happened to catch that today, and I went, oh my God, that's crazy, right? So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. It's not maps ranking for maps ranking's sake. I teach you all that stuff, okay? So there's literally, 30 plus modules. I think there's like 38 modules or something of exactly what you need to do to make maps work, to rank in an era where things seem disconnected. That's cool to go out and rank maps, but we're not ranking maps just to rank maps. We're ranking maps because we want to make a lot of money, right? I mean, I think that's why we're at it, right? So this guy made just a ton of money. Do you guys want to see some more testimonials that have come in? Want to see some more stuff that has come in? I mean, give me one if you want to see more actual stuff that's come in. People actually doing really well. And we'll get back into some more. We'll get back into Q&A. We can do more training too as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a Q&A because I know that people are going to have a ton. Derek Archer, just 1 second. Derek Archer just made a funny comment. Derek, do you want to come on and tell people what you just said to me in chat? Just chat it in the box, and if you do, I'll unmute your mic if you have a mic, and you can come on and tell people what you just told me. Yeah. Okay. Just 1 sec. I'm going to bring Derek on. This is so cool because I just saw his comment come in. Just 1 sec, Derek. I'm finding you in here so I can unmute you. There you are.
He has a mic, you said.
Okay, Mike.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. So tell us what you just told me.
Yeah, well, Brian did such a great job on the presentation yesterday that I was kind of pre-sold coming in anyways just because Herc and Todd recommended Brian, so it was an easy sale for you, Brian. But I went ahead and bought the pack, and I was in a meeting today. Had a client, well, it was actually just kind of a random person out of the blue who saw that I was just talking about maps, and he's like, hey, can you help me with my junk removal business? And so I did a real quick search, and sure enough, he was only listed for one small little town, and he wanted to be listed for a couple other towns. And so I was like, hey, we can do that for you. I just felt empowered with the confidence that Brian gave me yesterday. And so we're having a meeting on Monday, and he wants to do about 500 a month. So
Nice.
I've already paid my money back.
Very cool.
Yeah, but you actually are going to make more than your money back on deals like that, because like you said, if he has multiple locations, I've said this on other webinars before, and I kind of want to bring it up now because your situation is exactly what I'm talking about. The easiest sale to make in SEO is a second sale to a happy customer who's already a customer of yours, right? Because they've already worked with you, they've already spent money with you, you've done a good job for them. Now it's easy to make that second sale because there's no more walls left up. It's just, do you want more? And they say yes, and they hand you over a check. So wicked job, Derek. Thanks so much for coming on and letting me know.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for all you do.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Very cool. All right, so what's the consensus, guys? More training? Do you guys want to see some more testimonials that have come in of people just like absolutely crushing maps with the program, a little bit of both? What do you think, Kirk?
I think we should probably get into a Q&A here. Give me a 1 if you guys want to do a Q&A, and 2 if you want Brian to just do more training. This is going to get divided heavily.
I'm seeing lots of
2 for training. I forget what I already asked. Was 1 training, or was
two is training, and then 1 was going into Q&A. All right, let's do some more training. So anybody that's interested, if you want to hop in, I'm just going to tell you one more time, projectsupremacy.com/maps liftoff. There's just an absolute ton of bonuses, 8 bonuses that we're doing.
Can you just throw that link up on the screen just one more quick time?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
On the slide.
I will do that.
Yeah, guys. So this is cool. We'll do more training. We're at an hour and a half right now. So we're going to just, for anybody that wants to grab the course, Brian's going to load up the link for you. We already showed you how to get that $50 coupon. You'll see it when you go over to the thing, so just make sure you put in the coupon. So there it is right there, projectsupremacy.com/maps liftoff. Coupon code HerkinTodd50. Okay, guys, and that's going to bring the price from $497 down to $447, but that coupon will close in 8 hours. Okay, so for anybody that wants to pick that up, definitely do that. And I guess that's good. We can go into more training now, since Danny B apparently really wants more training.
I love it. All right, let's do some more training. Okay, who wants to see my 30-second keyword strategy? Sometimes 3 seconds, sometimes 3 minutes to ranking, and how you can actually make some money on this stuff. Cool. I'm getting a lot of yes pleases. All right, go for it. Cool. All right, guys. So one of the biggest things that you can do with maps is have a recognition that inside of your GMB listing, Google My Business has categories that you can choose. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see over and over and over again with my $1,800 consulting clients is they fail to choose categories. So I mentioned yesterday on the webinar, it goes something like this. We've got, I'm working with a dental SEO client, and they're very confused as to why they're not ranking for all these different keyword terms. So I asked them, first thing, go into your GMB panel and let's talk about your categories that you set up. And I would say 80 to 90% of the time they say dentist and dental clinic. And I say, cool, that's great. What about cosmetic dentistry? Does your guy do that? Yes. What about teeth whitening? Yes. What about, whatever? Like literally we get to the point where there's 9 categories and they've chosen 2, okay? And I'll prove it to them on the phone, and this is what I want to do now, is prove this to you how this works, that the category in and of itself is a very powerful ranking signal. If you don't choose the category, you have no shot at getting into maps. And here's how categories work. The category can be the thing that you do. So let's say the category is personal injury attorney, and you're a personal injury attorney. Makes sense, right? The category is the thing that you do. The category could also be a little more loosely associated with something that you do, but not exactly the thing that you do. So let me just give you a quick example of that. Let me show you Irvine Child Custody Attorney. All right, this is one of my sites. See that #1 spot, that thing right there? Child custody, by the way, is a massive, massive money keyword, right? Not to discount the pain that people go through with child custody struggles, but for a divorce lawyer, this is where the money is at, because people, you know, they'll pay a lot of money for divorce. Like Irvine is one of the richest areas in Southern California. These lawyers are getting big, big money. Child custody, on the other hand, takes it up 10 notches, right? People will do anything to make sure they keep their kids, get visitation. I'm sitting here at number one. What did I do to earn that position? I've got a category over here called lawyer, okay? So I'm not going to go into the back panel right now just to save time, but suffice it to say, I don't give a crap if I rank for Irvine lawyer. That's way too general for me. But what I did is I recognized that the category is so important and is a strong ranking signal in and of itself that I can essentially latch myself onto the power of a category keyword, and for lack of a better way of phrasing it, like skyrocket my way to the top for any number of keyword phrases that I want to anchor to that powerful category lawyer. In this case, I went all the way to the top for child custody attorney. So I made lawyer be all about child custody attorney. So I'm not going to get into detail about exactly how that happened, but it's important to see that category in and of itself is step one to getting you there. If you didn't select the category, just like my example of my dental clients where they didn't even choose cosmetic dentist, I mean, now what? You have no shot at getting there. Is it enough to get you in the 3-pack? Not usually, but the point is that if you scrolled through more places for cosmetic dentist and you didn't choose cosmetic dentist as a category, you're screwed. You're not even going to appear at all. So I have situations over and over and over again, in fact, hundreds of times, where I'll just tell them, go select the category, and they pop into you know, maybe the 5th position, maybe it's the 7th position. We don't care. We're off and running at that point, because now when they do, you know, the other stuff that I teach in the course, which is all the structure on site and how we can assign new meanings to categories, like I showed you, lawyer, I made mean child custody attorney. Now you're ranking like crazy. Okay, so let me show you how this works. Let's use my wife's site as sort of a guinea pig here. All right. My wife's going to probably like punch me in the face as soon as this is over. And she doesn't really care about the site, so it's fine. All right, so here's where the categories are. All right, so you're in your listing. You know, you get in here, and if you look here, that's where your categories are. All right, so you have primary category. By the way, this is a terrible primary category. Probably should have chosen personal trainer. Again, I don't care about the site, so I haven't changed anything on it. If I cared about this site, I would choose personal trainer as my primary category. So that's a little tip too. Like your actual category means something. The primary category means something. All right. So let's see what else we have as categories available to us. All right. What about gym? Okay. So there's gym. So here's the experiment that I want to do. All right. And again, sometimes it takes 3 seconds, sometimes 3 minutes, sometimes 3 hours. So we'll see if it works, all right? First thing that we're going to do is we're going to type in Summerlin Gym, all right? And I would go to more places, and I want to show you really quickly, is Summerlin Fitness for Women, my wife's business, in more places anywhere at all, all right? So I'm going to scroll through this really quickly. We've just got 3 pages of results. Take us 10 seconds. I'm not seeing her, not at all. Okay, what's the reason for that? She doesn't have that as a category. So what happens if I add that as a category right now? Let's just try to add this and see if this works. Again, you know, most of the time it works. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to add gym as a category. All right, let's give this a second. Sometimes it'll say things are pending review, so I want to double check that this is not pending review. If it is, I'll show you an example of one that I've done before. So here's the thing. Sometimes you'll actually add a category, and it'll tell you that that category is pending review, which means you can't check it. So it's saying pending. So let's check it anyway. If it's not there, we'll come back in a second, and I'll show you one that I've already done and show you exactly how that works. I'm going to go back here. not to whatever I just typed, oo.com. I don't even know what that is. And let's type in, again, Summerlin Gym. Let's see if she's there yet. What I'm trying to see is, does the power of the category work so that it'll get me ranking? Not necessarily in the 3-pack, but it gives me a shot at ranking. Now, if it's pending review, it may not show this change yet. Sometimes it'll pend review for a little while. Sometimes it'll take a day or two. Sometimes it's instantaneous. So we'll go back and we'll check this again in a second if it doesn't show up yet. So like the other day, I tested one for this site where I added a category and it said pending review, and then it cleared in about 30
I just saw it.
Did you?
Yeah, it was on the last page that you were on there.
Okay.
It was Summerlin, right?
Summerlin Fitness for Women, so let's make sure that's the right one. That's Summerlin CrossFit, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it might not be showing yet. Let me just clear this again real quick and see if it's still pending review. If it is, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so now it's not pending review anymore, it looks like. So we just need to give this a little bit of time. Like I said, sometimes it's 30 seconds, 3 seconds. I've seen it take up to 3 hours. Let me do it one more time. If not, I'm going to show you one that I've done. A couple actually that I've done very recently, the same experiment. There she is. You guys see that? Give me one if you can see how she's now at the bottom with more places. So literally in, what did that take us? Maybe a minute and a half, because we had a pending review. She went from nowhere to, no, she's not in the 3-pack, but she's showing up. You guys want to do it again? You want to pick another category? Let's maybe pick something like boxing, or how about like let's try boot camp. Let's try boot camp. So again, the experiment is this. We got to look for her first. So here's how you're going to make money with this. All right. When you get good at this and you can figure out this stuff works very well and works nearly every time, you can get people on the phone. There's no more places here for boot camp, so I don't know what's going on there. So let's try a different keyword phrase. But we would do that. Like if there was more places or something, we would check that. So let me see if there's, let's check another keyword here.
What about booty camp?
I think I've been to booty camp before. Fat booty camp. All right, boot camp is a no-go. So let's try boxing gym. All right, so I'm not going to add it yet because I want to see if it results in more places. Boxing gym. So again, remember, I may not care if I rank for boxing gym, right? She's a personal trainer. She's not a boxing gym. But as you saw with my lawyer child custody example, if it's close enough, I can anchor myself to the power of the category and turn that to mean anything that I want and rank dozens, if not hundreds of keywords around anchoring to the power of that category. So let's try Summerlin Boxing Gym. All right, we've got more places here, so that'll allow us to at least do the experiment. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down and just see, is she there or not? And my guess is, no, because I've never added her for boxing gym. My house is going to turn into a little boxing gym where she starts hitting me after this training for showing her site and our old house and all that good stuff. Nothing, right? You guys you don't see her, do you? All right, so here's where literally, like, I know this sounds like an old session of MTV where the magic happens. What was that show? Can't remember that show, Cribs or whatever, where you can get on the phone with people and say, you're not ranked for this stuff. Let me prove it to you. So let me add boxing gym. All right, so let's say boxing gym was important to that client. I'm going to add it. What do we get again? Pending review. Let's just let it clear. Sometimes it takes a minute. I just want this to reload. Okay, so it's still pending. So it's not going to be there yet. Let's give it one more second here. And if not, we'll come back to it because I want to show you guys how to spy on your competition and figure out what they're ranking for and how to actually close a sale on the phone by making that happen. You guys want to see how that works, how to spy on your competition with categories? Okay, cool. We'll come back to this, guys. So let me get over here. I'm going to actually go into incognito mode just so I don't have to close all these windows. And let's try Sarasota Dentist, because I want to show you how to spy on your competition. Guys, if this is something that interests you, I'm going to keep moving on through the training. Head over to projectsupremacy.com/maps liftoff. Tons and tons of bonuses, $50 coupon through tonight. I'm going to show you not only how to do these fun tricks to get clients, but then how you actually rank stuff. Okay, so hopefully that is interesting to you. All right, so I typed in Sarasota Dentist. Okay, so here's the thing that I want to understand, and here's how you can make money by spying on your competition and by spying on your target, who is the person you want to go after, by essentially showing them the pain of what they're missing out on. So here's my target right here, Sarasota Dental Group. So let's say that these guys are ranking very well, and I want to understand what their categories are. Open up a new window, go to maps.google.com. And here's how you need to do it. You can't type in Sarasota Dentist. You actually have to type in their brand name. There's a reason for this. Dental Group. Okay. So see, that's the exact brand that was sitting at number 1. That's good for them. What I want to do is I want to figure out why they're at number 1 and what they're ranking for, and then how I can potentially go rub it in a little bit, where I can look at a competitor who's ranking for keywords they might want to rank for and show them exactly why they're not ranking for those keywords, and then prove to them, just like I did to you in about a minute and a half on the phone, that I can get you ranking for this keyword. Do you want to see? So that's that's sort of the line of thought. So what I want you to do is, when you see who's in the number 1 spot, open a new window, add their exact business name. Hover over here, right click, hit view source. You guys ever looked at page source? It's like about as exciting as paint drying. But this is something that's going to pay off for you. Hit control find, control F. I don't know what it is on the Mac, probably command F or something. Type in what you think their category is. You can see what their primary category is right here, dentist. So I'm going to want to search for the keyword dentist. Right, so I might have to dig through this a little bit. There might be, 15 instances of the word dentist, but look how I just hit pay dirt right now. These are categories: dentist, cosmetic dentist, dental care, denture care center. I've now just identified exactly what the number 1 ranking person has that's getting them to rank from a category perspective. And I just showed you why categories are important. You guys want to see how you can take it further and go to their site and figure out what they're not ranking for and how you can contact them and show them exactly how you can rank for them? Let me get a 1. I actually saw some hell yeses coming through, so I think in webinar speak, hell yes is better than 1. I'm not entirely certain, but all right. So here's what we're going to do. Here's their categories: dentist, cosmetic dentist, dental care, denture care. That's awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to go over to their site and figure out what else do they do. All right, so I'm going to go down to something like their services. I want to see, what do they do. All right, so they do a bunch of different things. They do cosmetic dentistry, all that stuff. Teeth whitening. Do you guys remember seeing teeth whitening anywhere in here? Dentist, cosmetic dentist, dental care, denture care, and then we're done with their categories. I don't see teeth whitening. Do you? I don't see it. All right, cool. So now imagine you have these guys on the phone and you tell them, you do teeth whitening. I can see that you do teeth whitening. Let me show you something really quickly. Sarasota teeth whitening. Let's see if our friends over at the Sarasota Dental Group are ranking for teeth whitening. And what I would do is go through the analysis on the phone, like drag out the pain points a little bit. Again, from a sales perspective, pain sells a little bit better, or a lot better really, than pleasure. People will do anything to get out of pain. So I would do the analysis before, where I would want to see, is Sarasota Dental Group ranking for anything related to teeth whitening? And I can tell you right now the answer is going to be no, because they didn't choose that category. So now I want to rub in the pain a little bit more. All right, so I'm on the phone with these guys, and I type in Sarasota teeth whitening, and I say, look at your competition here, Family Dentistry ranking for teeth whitening. You guys do teeth whitening, don't you? Sarasota Dental Group. Yeah, we do. Wouldn't it be great to be ranking for teeth whitening services? Yeah. All right, so what I want to do is do the same analysis. Let's see what they're doing. So now I'm on the phone with Sarasota Dental Group, and what I'm going to do is the exact same thing I did before. Sorry, I just went to my site. That was not intentional. It's maps and maps. Maps.google.com, and I want to type in Sarasota Dentistry. Let's find that. Let's see, I think I typed Sarasota wrong. Is that the name of them? Let me just make sure I had that right. Family Dentistry, no wonder I had it wrong. All right, Family Dentistry. There we go. So that should come up. All right, and we want to, you want to make sure they're in Sarasota. I can't imagine anybody else has the name Dentistry on the end. All right, we're going to do the same analysis this time. We're going to right-click, go to the open source, view page source, hit Control F, and now I want to search for teeth whitening. Do you see that? Let me scroll over a little bit here so you guys can see that better. Give me a 1 if you can see that. Teeth whitening service. That's all their categories in a row. They have, look at all this stuff. They've got a ton of categories now. Dentist, cosmetic dentist, dental care, dental clinic, dental implant periodontist, endodontist, periodontist, teeth whitening service. Why do you think they're ranking for teeth whitening service? Put in the chat why they're ranking for teeth whitening service, or at least part of the reason. Yep, they chose the frickin' category when our friends over at Sarasota Dental Group did not choose that category. So how easy of what I would call a non-sale would it be when you're being helpful calling them up on the phone and say, you do teeth whitening, you're not ranking, your biggest competitor over here, Family Dentistry, is ranking for teeth whitening. I'll show you how. You show them this page, look at this. Now you tell your prospect, Sarasota Dental Group, log into your GMB, now, assuming they have it, maybe their SEO has it, who knows. But the point is, you could show them literally on the phone, go add teeth whitening service. And in like 30 seconds or so, they're going to be ranking. So let me go back here and let's see if this cleared, and we'll check on our little boxing keyword that we added. Didn't clear, didn't clear. All right, it cleared already. So I'm going to refresh here, Summerlin Boxing Gym, and let's just see. There I am. Look, number 3 when we came back, number 3 for just adding Boxing Gym. So I don't want you to think that just by adding Boxing Gym, you're going to rank in the 3-pack. You might rank number 9. You might rank number 15. Point is, you're not going to get anywhere near the 3-pack if you don't have it ranked.
Sorry, Brian. Can you check your private chat? I just sent you a link. I want you to pull that link up.
Give me 1 second. I have no idea where that's at.
Just go to the View tab and then make sure your chat is checked. In GoToWebinar, sorry.
Yeah, I don't see it, buddy.
Okay. Well, what it is just, another comment just came through. Stephen Godlowski was actually doing what you were doing on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And he just wrote in, holy shit, I just added video editing services to my categories and popped into the maps for it immediately. Video editing service near Bloomington. So, I mean, the shit works, guys. I mean, Stephen just picked that up just now. So, $447, Stephen, that's what you owe for that tip.
Yeah, and guys, let me give you a bigger tip for somebody who charges massive amounts of money. I mentioned this yesterday. I can't mention him by name, and I promised I wouldn't, but he is literally one of the largest SEOs on the planet. You guys would all know who he is, but I'm not mentioning him out loud. He did that trick and went from number 10 in maps to number 1 in maps in, I forget how long, 2 hours or something, for huge city for his SEO agency. All right, so this stuff works. It's not, again, sometimes it'll get you in the 3-pack. Most of the time it'll get you probably in this top 12 spots. The point is, if you never put it there, you're not going anywhere near the 3-pack. You add it, and then you start to structure out your site like I teach in Agency Black. That's when you crawl into the 3-pack. you anchor yourself to the power of that category. So give me a 1 if that was cool, if you guys like that trick and how you can actually make some money on that. I know this one's a little easier to understand than, like the other stuff I was teaching in terms of filtering and all that, but the course goes into that stuff. There's literally like 5 or 10 different ways you can sell this stuff that's non-salesy. You're being helpful at that point. That's all there is to it. People are staying totally badass. That's cool. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that we're asking, a lot more questions about like, well, how do you do this? How do you do that, guys? Like, obviously, Brian's not going to come on these, 1-hour webinars 2 times and teach you his entire course. Like, if you want to know all this stuff, if you want to have access to Brian, have access to his group and shit like that, obviously, you're going to want to buy the MAPS course, right? Like, that's where you're going to get what he's showing you now is just kind of like some of the material that is covered in the course, but you get all of it. Plus. So let's do this, guys. Let's quickly show people how to pick up this course again, and then we're going to close it out with a good Q&A. So Brian, can you load that that slide that just shows the links, and then we'll go through the bonuses. So let's load up the link, and we'll put it in the chat box again.
Yeah, guys, just head on over to projectsupremacy.com/mapsliftoff. We're throwing in a $50 coupon. The price is already way underpriced. I'm actually closing it to new members, $9.15, and I'm turning it into more of like a high ticket coaching thing. I want to be able to focus on working directly with people, and if it gets too big, I can't do that. So literally, I talked to Todd and Herc, and I was shutting this down, and this was not part of their schedule at all. They wanted to get me on to show you guys this before I shut it down. So it really is easily worth $1,000, $2,000. I charge my clients $1,800 to do exactly what you're going to learn, and you're going to learn even more for 4 hours live. You get all this stuff. There's 8 different bonuses. Check out the ridiculous testimonials that have come through, people making $5,000 a month right away. You got a guy that came on today that was on the webinar yesterday that hit 15 grand after an hour after the webinar yesterday. Got a $15,000 contract in hand from buying this. So this thing's closing down. I've got a coupon that expires midnight tonight. So if you're interested in picking it up, definitely now is the time to grab that. So.
And we just had Derek come on the webinar who also bought it. So that's 2 people actually that bought yesterday and already closed deals, because Derek came on and told you guys he closed a deal for $500 a month, and then let's just call him Floyd Mayweather. He closed that 15 grand deal off the sale yesterday as well. So, and I'm not saying, like you guys without sales experience or stuff can go do that. I mean, we're not trying to say buy the course tomorrow, you're going to make your money back. That's not what we're saying. But people who have clients already, this is a no-brainer for you guys. For anyone that wants to learn this stuff, I still think it's a great investment for you to learn how to do maps, because when you do start getting clients, it's easy stuff that you can do for them that's super helpful to their business that you can charge a good bit of money for. So leave that slide there. There's one more thing I wanted to go over with you guys, because I know we were going to talk about it, and that was the SerpTech. Okay, how do you hook all this shit up with SerpTech? Because give me a 1 if you guys are SerpTech owners. Yeah, I know there's a whole bunch of you in there, and it should be quite obvious at this point, guys, with everything that you've learned. Okay, so what do I do? If I get the MAPS liftoff training, okay, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to have either clients or I'm going to build a legitimate site. You're going to get a legitimate site with a legitimate MAPS listing, whether it be a client or a business that you own, or if you do know the tricks, okay, the tricks for lead gen purposes or rank and rent purposes, if you do know the tricks, how to get your approved GMB, okay, without having the physical address, there are those tricks, and Brian did say that he covers it very, very minimally in his course. His course is more about legitimacy, but he does kind of have a little piece in there that covers it. All you do is build the profile. You build a legitimate site, okay, and you build the GMB profile so that you can get ranked in the maps. You take all the information that you learn in Brian's course and you go out there and you build it and you rank it. Now what do? Right, with SerpTech? Does anybody know from here? It should be so obvious, right? Let me just make sure people can still hear me, or maybe they don't know the answer.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Hopefully people can hear you okay.
Well, you could sell the site, Bruce, yeah, right away, but you haven't done anything with SerpTech at that point. Yes, German, exactly. Start building out properties for hundreds of keywords that surround that industry, okay, with a SerpTech site. So go out and build 3 or 4 or 5 SerpTech sites in that area, in that industry, targeting all kinds of keywords. And what are you going to do with local supremacy? You're going to overlay the legitimate property on top of it, and it's just going to help you generate more phone calls for your business. Now, if you guys do have clients, you do have happy clients, or like the 2 guys that came on and talked, think about what you could do for their business. Okay, if you're talking about selling more and more expensive packages, maybe you come on and you get them on the phone and you sell them a quick improvement on their maps listing. Look, I can get you in, and you do the category trick that was shown to you for free on this webinar. And now they're like, whoa, okay. Then you could say, listen, I could do a lot more for you. You could sell a whole big package. I'm going to handle your maps. I'm going to handle your legitimate site SEO. Plus, I'm going to build you a network of sites that is going to bring you in a whole bunch more traffic and calls. And call that your big daddy package, or call that whatever you want, okay? You have all the tools and knowledge at your disposal to absolutely slay it with clients. Like, you could be charging $5 grand a month to handle it all for them. I'm going to do your maps, going to do your SEO. I'm going to build you a network of sites that funnels everything over. Okay. Oh, there, Rick's like, ooh, now I understand it. Good, awesome. Right? Do you get what I'm saying here? Like, all these tools have a different purpose, but when you understand the big picture of what it is that you're doing, you can combine all these tools to offer massive, massive services to clients. And all you have to do, guys, is get one sale with one client and do your job with them. Make them happy, because your second sale to that client is going to be the easiest sale that you're ever going to get. And this is how you're going to move from a $500 client to a $5,000 client. And once you start getting that ball rolling and you get your portfolio built up, the next time you go talk to your next client, you're going to have more confidence. You're going to have bigger portfolio. You might even have people that'll refer you out. This is how people build and scale their businesses. Does that all make sense to you guys? Yes, press releases. You could use press releases for stuff like that to watch those webinars. Everything has a different purpose, but they all fit what we do. Okay? And maps is something that Todd and I will never, at least I don't think we will, we'll never attempt to train you guys. You're never going to get expert level maps training from Todd and I. We're more software developers. You guys actually are kind of lucky, because really we develop software tools, but we teach so much about SEO for some reason. I don't know why or how we do that, but that's what we do. But maps isn't something that we're ever going to cover. So if you guys want the right maps education, this is the one. Brian's, look at his LCT group, guys. It's bigger than OMG, right? They're newer and bigger. Why? Because they're the best. They're really, really good at what they do. He's really good at what he teaches, right? Oh yeah, Facebook group, Bill. Brian, you do have a private Facebook group, obviously, for your course, right?
Actually, no, we don't do a Facebook group, and here's why. What I've done instead is, as one of the bonuses, is going to be 8 weeks of, you get my personal email where you can ask me anything, and I get on video once a week, and I'll answer every single question that comes in. The reason I don't do Facebook groups is same reason like in LCT. We've got 18,000 members in LCT. Stuff gets lost very, very quickly. I actually had 2 people yesterday that bought on the webinar yesterday reach out to me and say, that's kind of like a breath of fresh air. You're exactly right, right? Because stuff it just gets buried, guys. I won't be able to see your question, but I've got a very cool process where submit it during the week, anytime during the week. I've got my assistant that puts all that stuff together, and I sit there and I do a video and go through step by step all your questions. I'll outline things. I do, anything you don't understand, it's going to be crystal clear by the Friday of that week, because that's when I'm going to upload the new video. So you get 8 weeks of that as one of 8 of the bonuses that I'm throwing in with Agency Black.
So 8 weeks of actual personal attention from Brian.
Yeah, guys,
I'm not going to do that.
I'm not trying to brag at all, but literally, like, after the webinar, you can go to my site. I charge at a discount $800 for an hour of consulting time. So you're going to get 8 weeks of, you've got my attention, right? Just submit the question. I get it answered that Friday. So hopefully that's better than a Facebook group.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge advantage to having like less time but more private consulting. I think that's pretty awesome, actually. Okay, guys, do you guys want to see the bonuses for anyone that picks up the course? We're going to go over all the bonuses that you get because we haven't really done that yet. We did it yesterday, but we should do it again today. Let's do the bonuses quick, and then let's do like half an hour of Q&A.
Let's do it. All right. Can you see my screen okay? I'm just going to hop into these slides here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Okay, so in addition to the core training, which is something like, I think it's around 38 modules. So this is not a fluff course. It's not some mini course. I've thrown in a bunch of bonuses because I want to make sure that you really understand. The benefit of working with me is that any type of site that you work with, any type of niche, any type of, whether it's lead gen, whether it's pay per lead, client stuff, I want to make sure you clearly understand how this stuff works, what it really takes to rank maps. And so bonus number 1 is my geolocation on-site domination training. I walked through this in great detail yesterday, but essentially I would say 50% of your ability to get ranked after Possum in September is geo. So one of the things that I do is I structure these geographically relevant supporting pages. So I'm going to show you exactly where you put them, where they link to, exactly how to structure everything out. And this, by the way, is one of the things that just absolutely kills it every single time. Like when I get these people reaching out to me where they're like, holy crap, I went from number 10 to number 2 or number 10 to number 1 in 2 weeks or a week. A lot of times it's because they follow this plus the other major aspects of my course, that structure we talked about, right? So part of that structure is you've got to make Google believe geo is important. And they know it's important, so you need to make them believe that your site is geographically structured in a way that's going to make you the most relevant. So I've got an entire bonus on exactly how I set up every one of my sites. Bonus number 2 is my maps keyword multiplier training. I'm sure some of you guys are satisfied with having 1, maybe 2, 3 keywords ranking on maps, and that's cool. You call it a day. I'm going to show you how I use that structure we've talked about a bunch on site to make sure that you're getting ranked for every variation of every keyword that you put on there. So in many cases, this helps force rankings for dozens to hundreds of keyword variations. So imagine my dentist example where there's 9 categories, and around those categories there's all these keywords that you're going to structure under those categories. What if you could rank 50 variations of those keywords, of each of those keywords? Do you think your phone would ring a little bit more? So that's what this training is all about, this bonus right here. Number 3, on-site supporting structure. The cool thing about this is most people just don't do this at all. And if they do, they maybe do like 10% of it. They get a little part of it right. This is something that I plug into every single one of my implementations. Every brand new site gets this. Every brand new client site I work on, doesn't matter, gets this exact structure I'm going to teach you in this bonus. So this shows you why sites fail to get ranked and then what you need to do to fix that. The reason they fail to get ranked is they don't prove it to Google. So in this bonus, I show you exactly how I structure these monster sites in a really short period of time using an exact supporting page structure. Step by step, what to do, what I do every single time. Bonus number 4, you get a services site complete setup. So I know a lot of you yesterday work on services sites. If you're in the pay-per-lead niche, if you're in lead gen, most likely you're working on services sites. Well, you have to up your game. I showed on the webinar yesterday, Google Home Services is taking over the industry. So what do you do to up your game? Well, you need to really understand where services is headed, that Google lies to you about, hey, set up a radius and you think you're going to rank there. What I'm going to do is walk you through in this bonus the exact process I use for literally crushing service niches, and I'm going to show you this reverse method for making GMB believe that you service everywhere you just told them you did inside of your GMB listing, right? It's all about proof across the board, guys. So I'm going to show you how this works for services. Number 5, I think some of you are asking, what's your Possum and filtering strategy in the chat? This is it. This is like literally secret sauce. Nobody knows how to do this. So I told you about my New York guy who called me, paid me thousands of dollars. Step 1 is I identified he had a problem. which was that he was filtered under Possum. Okay, well, step 2 is, what do I do about it? So in this bonus, I show you exactly everything, step by step by step. I think it's around a 30-minute video of fix this, fix this, fix this, and boom, you're unfiltered. I've gotten dozens and dozens of people unfiltered with this. If you're filtered, it's as good as not being there. So this is something that you're going to face as an SEO going forward, where your client's filtered, your lead gen site's filtered. You've got to figure out how to make it work. This bonus covers that. Bonus 6, 3-prong network set up for massive relevancy, fast ranking. So again, this is a different, a bonus video where I'm going to walk you through my offsite setup, the exact setup that I use for every single site, every time, with an easy to understand diagram of how I set it up. So just like you did inside your listing, you're going to match that on your website. We want to start to make everything line up across the site. Do you guys remember how I showed you the same as data in Project Supremacy 2? Remember how we went through all that? That's a form of lining things up, guys. It's a form of forcing an association between your site and high authority sites. All we're doing here is we're going to take it a step further. We're going to match our listing to our site and everything off of our site in these little mini networks that I set up. Nobody does this stuff. I've tested it for 4 years. It works every time very, very well. Bonus number 7, any of you that do cold email outreach, if you do video audits, if you do any form of Facebook marketing to drive people to a standalone service or a foot in the door service, this is for you. I've done copywriting for years. I've been doing copywriting for probably 10 years now. And I structured something out about 2 years ago where it's a high converting Maps sales service page that you can drive people over to. All right. So if you load up your cold email program, you do video audits, whatever, drive them to this page, and this is going to help you close a deal because it's designed to convert. It's been tested. It converts very well. All right. Bonus number 8, again, super fast acting. I might take this thing down depending on how big this thing gets, because again, this is my time. There's one of me, okay? I mean, so I may have to back this one out for my own sanity, but this is what we were talking about earlier. Instead of a Facebook group, I want to give you personalized attention. You're going to get your questions answered on video. So you'll get my personal email address for 8 weeks. Once a week, my assistant goes through that, queues it all up for me, and I'm going to record a video that goes through everything, answers your questions. A lot of times I've been known to diagram things out to show you, like if you're kind of missing some larger point or something, I'll go through and show you exactly how it works. So any sticking points that you might have during the course, that's what I want to make sure that you get, okay? So those are the 8 bonuses. You also get a $50 coupon. That's going away tonight. So head on over to the order page, and I'm going to hand it back off to Herc for Q&A. Did we lose Herc, or is he on mute?
Oh yeah, I was on mute. I talked for like 12 minutes there on mute, so we'll never get that time back again. Okay, let me just grab this, because there's so many comments that are coming in that are hilarious that I love, and I'm just grabbing them, so I just want to.
No worries.
This one's Matt. He's going nutty in there. Guys! Literally just got a client of mine to tell me he's going to pay me to help him based on the confidence he got from this Webby to help him. After that, he said, "You're going to pay me for helping you." He said, "I got you," and he just gave him access to his GMP. And then Matt put another comment in there, something about oh yeah, he's going to be my guinea pig, so he's a paid pig.
I love it.
This was the other one that I was trying to send to you. This is Steve, guys. When Brian was going over that category tip, the 2-minute ranking tip, Steven was actually doing it at the same time, and he just added his video editing services to a category. He's popped into Maps immediately for video editing services near Bloomington. So congrats there, Steve. If that's you, you're going to get more phone calls, obviously, being in the Maps. And if it's a client, they are going to love you for coming on this webinar and grabbing that. Product ontology. I was going to go over that a bit, but so guys, let's just go into Q&A here. Does anybody? Let's ask this question first of all. Once again, is anybody still on the fence? Give me a 1 if you're still on the fence and you have a question. Welcome in, Larry. That's awesome. There's so many people that have gotten in, guys. It's totally awesome. It's a crazy good value.
Yeah, welcome to everybody.
Aside from the
No
personal,
offenses.
aside from the personal consultation, is this training substantially different from that of LPB? That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that question a lot. The training that I did 2 years ago now on the 3-pack was more of like a mini, I would call it a beginner to intermediary, or intermediate kind of, not intermediary, intermediate type of training that I did. Here's the thing, guys. We know the algorithm changes constantly, so you can't just sit there and be stagnant as SEOs. When things change, you've got to keep up. And what I did was, all along I had been doing these trainings live, and I got to the point where I was losing my voice and just started putting this down onto over-the-shoulder video. So it's 100% different. It's a very different process. Why? Because the algorithm shifted so big in September that you've got to keep up with this stuff. It's not something that I can cover in a $37 course. There's no way I could do all that stuff. So yeah, it's totally different.
Let's see, there's a good one up here. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are talking about map strategies for businesses where they have multiple locations. Mm-hmm. And do you cover that in your course?
Absolutely. That's the benefit of going through this video training versus, say, live one-on-one with me. So when I get those $1,800 consulting clients, I sit on the phone and we can only go over 1 or 2 scenarios because we're really doing a deep dive into 1 or 2 things. The structure of a multi-location site is very different than a single location site. And again, remember, 80% of your ability to rank in maps is based on your on-page optimization done in structure. Okay, so not just on-page optimization as you know it, as maybe you've learned it, has to be done structured. So there's an entire structure around single location. There's a different video series and structure around multi-location. So I show you exactly how I rank that. Same thing holds true for service businesses that have multi-location. That setup is slightly different still. So that's a cool thing about the videos versus a live training is you get every variation. Anything you can think of is there. And if it's not there, ask me a question and I'll make sure that we cover it on one of the Friday video calls.
Okay, the slides. I believe the slides guys were on the what do you call it? The page, right? There was a download link for the slides.
Should be on the actual order page itself. The download link. I'll get those over to you.
Where was that? Is it somewhere?
So when you click on the actual order link itself, click to order now. It's on that checkout page. If you scroll down, should be a little download link. If it's not there, I'll make sure it gets there.
It's here. It's kind of hidden, guys. So for anyone that's asking about the slides, get over to the order page, scroll down beneath the bonuses, and right here where I'm highlighting, I'm going to zoom way in on this. Download the webinar slides right here. Okay. Matt's super excited about multi-location, obviously. Can someone who has never done maps before be able to use the program and set up a maps business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need to know a little something about SEO. So I get asked that question: is it for a brand new person? Yes and no. I mean, I go through so many different aspects of SEO that we didn't show that. I don't think we showed that testimonial, but one of the guys that bought this course maybe a month ago said it's literally the best SEO course he's ever bought. He didn't say just maps, like SEO. So you can actually learn SEO from it. But it kind of assumes that you know a little bit about SEO, but it's going to give you everything you need to know to just conquer maps and be, like you'll know so much about maps that you could set up an entire agency that's dedicated. And I would actually recommend you do that. Why would I recommend that? The reason is that Maps is not quite as married to organic rankings as it used to be, right? So we, even 9 months ago, it was hard to go out to somebody and say, I'm going to get you ranked in Maps if they're sitting on page 4. I just showed you a bunch of examples where that doesn't happen anymore. You can get ranked in maps even if they are sitting on page 4. So you could actually set up an entire agency. The other reason I would do that is it creates an entire niche around yourself where everybody else is focused on, hey, I'm going to sell you SEO. I'm going to make your phone ring, right? Like I would back it off even further from doing it as a pure maps sale, for instance, and just talk about, I'm going to make your phone ring. And you know, then you can set it up to show them different ways that you're going to make that happen. You can show them my category trick to impress them in terms of, you know, here's step 1, all these good things. So yeah, that's a great idea. Set up a maps agency, become a maps expert, and sell only maps. And as Herc said, your first sale is the easiest. Don't ever sell SEO right out of the gate is my advice, because you're competing in an arena where people have been burned so much in SEO that you kind of want to lead with some other product. That's why maps as a foot in the door product or a standalone product is amazing. And then once you prove your point and prove yourself, then go back to them and, you know, get SEO added to the contract. Does that make sense?
Or SERP tech builds or whatever, conversion optimizations, whatever. It's like we all know how to do all these different arenas of, or not arenas, these areas of, you know, SEO and marketing for businesses. It's just like, it's just getting that first one, you know, and maps is a great way to do it. I mean, especially with that little trick that you just showed live on this webinar. I mean, if you could just get someone on the phone and be like, look, I can put you on maps on this call. You know, they're probably gonna, it's shit like that, I mean, the stuff that we do and the knowledge that we have, to most people would blow their minds. Like, you know, if you walked up to most businesses or a friend or an associate of a friend, or we all know how to get into those conversations with people that own businesses and be like, you know, you don't have to be salesy about it. You could just be like very casual about it, and if you have an opportunity to say it, just be like, I could probably get you on, you know, on maps in like 2 minutes, and that's all it really takes. The guy be like, yeah, right, you know. And it sounds so hypey and so crazy to them. That's just because they don't have the education that we do. Don't ever underestimate how much you know. And if you really want to test how much you know, go to talk to someone that has no idea about SEO, and you'll start talking, you'll start getting excited, you'll start getting, you know, you'll just blab on. It's because you know a lot compared to this person. So even like with the SERP tech shit, you know, when we say, listen, we could get you like 200-300 first page rankings in 24 hours. People are like, what? Like, that's true. How do you do that? And it's just a knowledge thing. So
yeah, it's knowledge, and on the other side of it, it appears to them, the prospect, that it's magic, right? Literally, it almost seems like magic where suddenly they pop into the 3-pack. To you, now you know the trick, but to them, it's like, what in the hell did that person just do? The other thing I want to point out, too, is I've never done cold calling in my life. I've never actually been a salesperson, period. The sales that I get is because people come to me through marketing. So one thing is, if you're shy on the phone, whatever, you could do the same trick I just taught you. Just do it in a short video on it. Tell them what to do. Like, show what I showed you in the video, in the presentation, where they're not ranking for teeth whitening. Here's why. Show them the source code of their nearest competitor, rub in the pain on video, and then say, go into your GMB listing, or have your SEO go into your GMB listing and add the keyword teeth whitening, or add the category.
That's so brilliant, Brian. Like to pull that off. Did you guys understand what he just said there? Like, do you want me to repeat it? Because it's so, what he just said is so powerful from a sales. Yeah, okay, I'll repeat it in my words, Doug, and maybe Brian will say it again, just because it's worth hearing that many times. There was a comment that just came in from Matt too, and he said, yeah, but how are you supposed to, you know, if you're on the phone with a business, how are you supposed to do this without access to their GMB, right? Which is going to be an objection, right? It's totally going to be an objection. It's going to be a wall or a barrier that you're going to run into. But what Brian just explained is the total answer to that. If you can get them on the phone and get them excited enough to try, you don't need access to their GMB. You just need a willingness on their part to be able to allow you to guide them through the steps that they need to take to get the results. So, and there's lots of ways to do that. You can Skype screen share, you can do it on the phone and say, listen, okay, do this step, do this step, do this step, do this step, and then wait like 5-10 minutes and watch what happens. Now you've just proven, without even touching or logging into their GMB, how much knowledge you have. And trust me, like, if they go through it, they're gonna love it. So that's such a powerful way to like shut down an objection of needing to have access to their G&B account.
Yeah, and what I was explaining too, another way to do this is if you don't want to get on the phone, people get in the mode of it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It's not necessarily a numbers game. Sure, people do video audits, but if you're the person that does a video audit that has nothing to do with, oh, your site speed is this, and it's, the typical SEO kinds of stuff, and instead you pull the trick off on a pre-recorded video and you send it to them and show them how I can get you ranked in maps in 30 seconds, right? Now they have the tools to just go do it on their own time. They're still going to be amazed just like if they did it on the phone. Because the objection, like Kirk was saying, is what if they have an SEO and they don't have access to their G&B on the phone? Or what if you're not somebody who likes to get on the phone and cold call and walk through that? Do it all on a pre-recorded screen share video, 3 to 5 minutes, show them exactly how it's done, do the comparison I showed you with the source code, rub it in a little bit, rub that paint in with, hey, your competition's ranking for teeth whitening. Want to know how they did it? Let me show you, right? Now let me show you how you can do it, right? And so basically you're not selling anything, you're just selling yourself at that point. You're selling trust in yourself, where now they go in and on their own time, they add teeth whitening in their ranking. Who do you think they're going to call back or email?
Oh, no question.
Right? So you don't have to do it live is the point. It can be done in a number of ways, and it's a very, very powerful, what I call as a non-sales technique. It's a sales technique, but it's more of a trust-building technique that's going to lead to a sale.
Yeah, totally. Because it's not, I mean, there's no real friction in just trying to get someone to help themselves. The friction comes when they have to hand over the money, right? So you don't want to ask for money right away. That's not a good way into a sale. You want to remove any friction points. Okay, can a business rank for multi-locations or cities if they only have an office in a single city?
The answer is yes and no. So anytime I'll explain it from a U.S. perspective. It's a little bit different in the U.K., Australia, et cetera. In the U.S., if, let's say you have a very large city and there's all these unincorporated areas of a large city, what are called unincorporated areas, meaning that they don't have their own city council. They really have a Vegas address. So I showed you my wife's training site, or my wife's personal training site, right? We live in an area called Summerlin. Summerlin probably has 200,000 population. It's a very large suburb. But guess what? I have a Las Vegas mailing address. Summerlin doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, but it's not its own city. Doesn't have its own city council, any of that stuff. So the answer is that anytime you have a situation like that where there's an unincorporated area of a main city, or you have a larger city with all these known neighborhoods, you can rank for those different known neighborhoods by doing what I teach you in Maps Liftoff Agency Black, with only having one listing, okay? Anytime you move into a brand new city that is in fact incorporated, has its own city council, you typically will need a second address, even with a service business. So I told you before, Google lies to you when you set this stuff up. They lull you into this false sense of belief that, oh, just set up a listing, hide your address, and say that you service 20 miles as a radius, and we think, cool, I'm going to rank for 20 miles. And that's, that kind of worked a little bit 4 or 5 years ago, but in general, you need a new address every time you cross into a new city. But the cool thing that I teach you in Agency Black is we're in an era now after Possum where everything is so location driven. Right? I did an experiment on yesterday's webinar that you can go watch. That's really cool. That's also very eye-opening, which is that when you're on a mobile device, the location of the searcher on a mobile device matters more than ever. The closer I get to something, Google is more apt to show me those results. And so I teach you ways to overcome that. So in other words, if you have one listing, you might only show up in a very small radius if you just did this on your own, right? Let's say you're in Chicago and you rank for some little small zip code area of Chicago, but you're not showing up in Lincoln Park, which is an area of Chicago, or the Loop, which is an area of Chicago. By the way, that people actually type in for search terms instead of Chicago. I show you how to get ranked for all these large pockets of unincorporated areas and neighborhoods. But I know that was a long-winded way of saying yes and no, right? once you move into a new city, you'll need a new address?
Lee, is there any webinars on SerpTech? There's tons of webinars on SerpTech, but that's in the SerpTech membinars area.
You just combined all that.
Membinars means members and webinar, but I save time by saying membinars, and then I lose time by
tequila. If I had a bunch of tequila, I'd be like, membinar.
Welcome in, Eric. That's awesome. What about large Indian cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Kolkata?
You'll crush it, guys. Like I actually have a client from India who I got on the phone with and trained a couple weeks back, and he's a doctor out there, set up a new practice, and he's #1 in maps. I mean, you can kill it with this stuff. He did it very, very quickly because there's less competition. So he went to the best parts of the course. You know, so in other words, there's all this stuff in the course, and if you're in really competitive areas or really competitive niches, you need to do most of it. If you're not, there's 4 or 5 core things that you can do sometimes to kill it. Like this guy, his practice exploded after doing Agency Black, which was cool. And it also cool is having clients in India, right? We actually had a guy from India who flew. God, I can't even speak today. Maybe I have had tequila. He flew out to the LCT Live conference in Vegas that Herc and Todd were at from India. I was like, holy crap, this is really cool, right? To be able to work with people all across the world. But it works anywhere, guys.
There we go. Somebody just asked about, can you use a home address? Okay, so for the instance where you have like a digital business, like what I do or what Todd does, where there is no physical store, but you're running a digital business, can you use your home address? And the answer is yeah, of course. Like this, like position marketing, for instance, that's my old address in Beaumont, but I live down in Beaumont, and that's all I use on Google Maps for that is my home address. So totally.
Absolutely. And in fact, in service niches, sometimes it's better to use home addresses. So a lot of times people used to use things like UPS store addresses, and sometimes those work. And sometimes mailboxes work, where you go to like a mom and pop mailbox place and rent a mailbox. Let me ask you a quick question. In an era where Google has Google guaranteed, where they're guaranteeing home services, right? Essentially it's pay to play, but they're guaranteeing it because, they're doing quote background checks and all this stuff. Do you think that you're believable by running plumbing vans out of a UPS store or a mailing box? Give me a 1 if you think yes. Give me a 2 if you think no. No. LOL, no. It's not believable, guys, to run vans out of those situations. It is, however, many times believable for a local business to set up shop out of their house, and that's fine. I mean, the key is that it depends on if you work with a local client or not. Do you hide that address? Because you do need to still build citations to that address, right, to make things work. Citations are not as important as they used to be, but they're still a component of ranking on maps. So do you want that address to show all over town? Like I showed you my old address that I built for my wife's business. I don't live there anymore. I don't care, right? But at the time, we had it built to that business, when we did live there. So it's really a personal preference. But I would steer clear of like the Regises of the world, and UPS sometimes works, but a lot of times doesn't. Stuff is getting flagged for spam pretty quickly, either by Google itself or your competition, if you don't have a believable address.
Hey guys, I'll out there real quick.
Yep.
We're about 2.5 hours in, so if anyone's kind of on the fence on whether or not they're going to pick up this course or not, the coupon code will expire tonight. So we want to try and get to those questions right now. So if you're one, I see a lot of questions coming in from the kind of the same people over and over again, which is great. That means you're highly engaged. Most of you have already bought anyway. You just keep asking, your questions, which is great. But if there's anyone else, yeah, that's you, Matt. If there's anyone else out there, if there's anyone else out there, please, go ahead and speak up now, because we will have to be closing this down pretty soon.
Let me know if you have any questions about the course or what it does or anything. hit me with any question you want, and I'll try to answer that.
Here's an easy way to do this for you guys. I know because a lot of people are probably typing questions. If you want to buy but you have a question, just type like 5 and put that into the chat, and we'll see your name. So if you want to buy but you have a question, type 5, hit enter, and then type out your questions, because then we can go back to your name and know that you're asking because you have a question. So like Cindy, go ahead and ask your question, and we'll know that you have a question. Hussein, same thing. Go ahead and ask your question. We see you there. Son, Serena, same thing. Yes, we will have a replay. There's always replays. Actually, guys, it'll be the same link. Actually, let me make. Okay.
Yeah,
because
you had videos up, right? You had kind of a blank for today, so we'll all be on the same page.
It was kind of funny, actually. So the replay link, guys, is projectsupremacy.com/replays/maps liftoff. And obviously, it's a 2-part webinar series, and people are like on this webinar asking, when's part 2 coming?
You're on it.
Which is hilarious. You're on it.
You're good.
Or people were saying, hey, part 2's not working. I was like, well, we haven't even started the webinar yet. So that's what part 2 is for. Maybe I didn't make that clear enough with my, I'm still learning how to make things more clear to more people, but to me it seems obvious. But so Cindy, can you use your home address for multiple businesses? Does Google see that as suspect? Can you use a residential address?
No, you never want to stack multiple businesses in one location. Yeah, they will see it as suspect, and if they don't, your competition will at some point. You know, it used to work. A year ago, I had different lawyers that were working out of the same office, shared office space. The problem now is, number one, you could get filtered if the businesses are even slightly similar. So if Google perceives an affiliation between the 2 types of businesses and your address, you could get filtered very easily. The second biggest aspect is either getting shut down by Google itself for spam, or a competitor flagging you, realizing that, hey, this business is tied to 12 different, or this address is tied to 12 businesses. My advice is there's lots of ways to go get addresses. Just, you know, it's not always easy, but it's worth it if you've got multiple businesses. Definitely get legit addresses to the extent you can.
I'm gonna take this question because this was a buyer question from Hussein. He said, if I take this course today and I am very tempted, will this work for me? Let's say it's a map listing for an SEO location. Will it provide all the steps for success for this? I just tried the source page for a couple of marketing companies and never had info. However, the company had multiple locations. Not sure, but the trick was amazing and the info was great. Thank you. Hussein, it's an impossible question for us to answer, that if you buy this course, will it work for you? Because we don't know you. We don't know what you're going to do with the information. We don't even know if, when you buy the course, if you're going to log in and watch a single video. Okay, so we can't honestly, you know, we can't sit here right now and say, if you buy this course, it will work for you 100%. You will make $5,000 a month within 3 months. There's just no way we can say that. What we can say is you're going to get some of the best maps training out there from a guy who only does maps. He's the best out there in the business. And if you've watched these 2 webinars and you feel that he's a good teacher for you, if he's a fit for your style of learning and for the things that you want to learn, then buy the course. But I mean, no one is going to guarantee you whether it's going to work for you or not, just because we don't know you, and we're not going to say guaranteed to work, and if in 2 months it doesn't work, we'll refund your money. No, because people take advantage of that kind of shit, so we're never going to say that. But it is a good course. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
And there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if it is not a fit for you, you decide you don't like it for whatever reason, or you don't like my style of teaching, or you just think it's, you know, just is not going to work for you for whatever reason, we've got a 30-day no questions asked money-back guarantee. The other thing I would tell you too is, you know, we can't guarantee anything, but just go look at the results that other people have achieved taking Agency Black. There's literally probably somewhere between 30 and 50 Facebook screenshots and testimonials and all this stuff. So people that apply and actually, you know, take action on this stuff tend to do very, very well. Does it happen every time? No, we can't guarantee that. There's a lot of people who never log into the course, and then, you know, they they complain that they don't rank, because and I'll go check inside the members area. I can see they never logged in, right?
Oh,
So
don't even get me started on that shit.
yeah, you have to take action for sure, but
Yeah.
we've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can check out on your own all the testimonials and all that good stuff on the page there.
Tony Ramos, you said you had a buy-in question, but I still haven't seen it pop up, so hopefully you're not still typing and it's a super long one, but we're still waiting for your question. Same with you, Serena Durant. You typed in a 5, you had a question you wanted to buy. How long does it take to get the course done? That depends on how fast you're able to and willing to go through the material. I guess a better question that what you're trying to get at is how many hours of material is there in the course, Brian? Do you know?
I've never actually timed it, but if I had to guess, there's about 7 to 10 hours of solid material in that course. I've had people binge watch it in a weekend and have literally messaged me saying it's like Netflix. I don't think they mean that it's like the drama and excitement of Netflix, but that once they get started, they can't stop because they're so anxious to apply the stuff that I teach. And then some people, just take their time over a couple weeks or whatever. It's really up to you. I mean, there's probably 7 to 10 solid hours of material in there. In other words, it's not a fluff mini course, guys. It's not something you're going to log in and an hour later you're done. But it is something that is very step by step by step. People love the layout of it. It's very easy to absorb. You just have to sit there and devote some time to going through the course.
This comment just came in from Tim. You guys have been great. I just jumped in. I'm sure I'll have questions because I'm doing this first for my own business and it's a unique one. That's great, Tim, because Brian's bonus number 8 was actually that one-on-one time with him. So if you have a unique business and a unique set of questions, there's no better thing that you can get than personal time with Brian to help you answer those questions. So welcome in, and I'm sure that you're going to be happy with your purchase. Okay, Matt. Me again. If I'm able to partner with companies, vendors, that I'm brokering their businesses for, mom and pops who do not already have GMB, would this not be the optimal address? They should agree to give you the postcard code. Should they agree to give you the postcard code? I'd say yeah. I mean, if you're doing their GMB for you and you're brokering their businesses and stuff, then it's going to help them to be on maps, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And just explain to them, like, as long as you're educating them, yeah, educate them why things are happening, what's happening, why am I receiving a postcard, why do you have control of my entire internet life now, just to tell them why.
Yeah, here's how I explain it to people. You like phone calls, right? So here's the thing that I think people miss about maps sometimes is that it's really great to have lots and lots of organic rankings, and SERPTech is like a tremendous tool to be able to achieve that. But where the real action is day to day and where the trust factors lie, where at a glance you can convey that trust, is being in the 3-pack with a lot of star ratings. And I have clients tell me all the time, people pick up the phone without ever visiting their website and dial, okay? And dial and dial and dial. And I have the proof for it because I've got lots of tracking numbers on things that I've worked with businesses. I showed you that divorce site, for instance, right? That's a lead gen site for me where I funnel those leads off, and I've got a deal with a lawyer in California where I get a percentage of that because I'm a lawyer and I can do that, right? And it pays a lot of money. So maps is where those phone calls come from. When I check my tracking numbers, it's unbelievable how many calls come through maps. It's literally unbelievable how much stuff you can control through maps. And that's where the magic happens. That's where the phone calls really happen. And the reason we know that is when they start talking to clients, half the time they never went to the website. If they did, God forbid, that website's a piece of shit, right? It's a terrible site. But they're calling directly based on rankings sometimes. Other clients I have based on rankings and star ratings. So it depends on like if you're in a home niche, for instance, let's say you do remodeling, they're probably going to want to go to your website and see a little bit, they want to see photos and stuff of work you've done. But for a lot of services, they're going to pick up the phone from maps. So guys, maps is where it's at. If you're in local, you've got to be in the map pack, period. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you understand the importance of that.
Let's see if there's any. I still haven't gotten that other guy's question yet. Is it a problem to have a tracking number on maps that is different than the phone number that's the business's regular NAP?
Yeah, you don't want to do that typically. There are ways to install different types of, like unique tracking code attached to maps, which you don't have time to get into today, but you'll be able to kind of tell where the call originated from. But you want your phone number to line up on the site. My point is that if I own the property, for instance, the website, the maps listing, everything associated with it, videos, all these different things, I'm going to put my tracking number on there. All right, and then I have my clients very carefully ask people, how did you find us? Did you go to our website? Things like that. So you can do that, or you can take it further and put unique tracking code on there to see exactly where things are coming in. But yeah, you really do want to match you don't want to have a separate number that's completely different on maps. Now here's how you could do it, is you could get your client ranked in maps. I showed a testimonial yesterday from a guy, Matthew, you can see it on the page. He has 3 out of 3 maps listings ranking. Well, how does he do that? Well, he does partially pay-per-lead and partially client-side business, where he'll go out and he'll rank the client site, which is a legitimate client site with the client's phone number, and then the other 2 sites are sites he built with different tracking numbers on it, and now he's funneling even more business to that client. And in some cases, he can funnel business out to other clients if that person can't take that many phone calls, if that makes sense. So there's different ways to do it, but in general, the site, your listing, and everything, the citations should match phone number wise, address wise, all that good stuff.
How long does it take to optimize a listing and on-page elements with PSV2 using this method? Like 3 minutes.
Yeah, the project supremacy part is very easy. I have an entire section on what I call photo optimization and then schema data, proper schema through project supremacy. And I show you exactly how I use it as really a time-saving tool. You could do schema by hand, but who the hell wants to do that, right? It's it's a pain. So this is just a big time-saving tool, and it's one component of your ability to get ranked.
Scott, it's literally filling in fields with your business information. Applying for a Visa card probably takes longer than filling out schema with Project Supremacy.
For sure.
And it's the same process. Yeah, go ahead, Hussein, last question. We're probably going to take this down, guys. We're almost 3 hours here, but go ahead. If there's anybody last burning questions, that's it. This is your last chance. Get them in there now. Frickin' hungry.
See Craig's statement up there?
That's not really, GB, that's a support issue. That's not a webinar question, so email support, please. Did I see, sorry, what was that, Todd?
Look up at 538, Craig.
Craig Attenbury?
Yeah.
Went through Brian's course first, and I got maps left off 4 weeks ago. There's a lot of great info in this course, and Brian is so right. Things in maps have changed significantly. If you want to stay up on maps, purchase this course. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Any other questions that I can answer for anyone who's on the fence who wants to hop in, but you're like stuck on something?
Except you, Matt.
Except you, Matt. You've gotten a good quote answer.
That's like, damn it.
Rick, if you aim to rank in maps, I guess that's also good for organic SEO as well. Absolutely. And one of the main, not the main, but one of the concepts that Brian covered quite heavily is that to rank in maps, the misconception was that you had to optimize your maps listing, where the reality is that you actually have to optimize your website. But the benefit of optimizing your website is not only do you improve your SEO for your natural SERPs, but you also improve for the maps. So they are hugely related.
Yeah, big time.
Who's saying you're wanting to benefit this course is to contact local businesses and get them ranked on maps. However, is this covering the lead system management, which would be the second phase?
No, I mean, this is not really about, this is not a sales course, let's put it that way. There are sales tips like the ones that I gave you today. It's pure and simple a ranking course, and it's a maps ranking course that will also hugely benefit you, your ability to rank in the local organic SERPs as well. But it's not designed to be a lead management system. It's not designed to be software or a sales system. But I do get into sales techniques.
Yeah, I feel like you're more asking about like the SERP tech stuff, and really, I mean, there's not much to train you on there. SERP tech has, if you own SERP tech, there's so much training inside of SERP tech that it teaches you how to build the sites and do overlays. So I feel like that's what you're referring to, but that's kind of a different product. And it's just Maps Liftoff is going to teach you everything you need to know about maps, right? Ranking in maps. SERP tech is a tool to overlay, to build out other sites and overlay them onto it. With PSV3, do you need access to the back end of a client site to add schema? Well, you need the plugin on their site, on the client site. So yes. But once you have the plugin on the site, Dan, you can actually still hide it and then build your schema from your app and push it out to their site so that they can't even see that anything's going on. So you can actually work on a client site. Once the plugin's there, you can work on a client site remotely. I think we're pretty good here. I see a lot of other questions, guys, but they're getting a little bit away from. Do you provide any sample contract and proposals in your course?
No, but that's something that I could add. I mean, I haven't added that before, but that's something that I could do at some point. I can't promise when, but it's not designed to be a sales slash, all things to everybody sort of course. It's meant to show you ranking techniques that work very, very well. And then it's really kind of up to you to go get the sale. But I do teach you some sales techniques. That may be something that I add in the future. I've done that in the past with local client takeover by adding, like pay-per-lead contracts that I've used and things like that. I don't like to do that because I don't like people relying on templates that I've created, because there's every state's different, every location is different, and then people rely on it, and if they get burned, I don't want them coming back to me saying, I use this. Can't rely on them, in other words. Everything's so different from location to location that you kind of have to do your homework on stuff like that.
Yeah, Todd already answered that, Ron. So for a client, you'd need to get his permission to modify that. Yeah, typically with clients, guys, you want to get permission before you do anything, unless the client's just like, look, you're the pro, I'm not, you have free reign. But you want to clear shit with your clients. Either get the free clearance to do whatever the hell you want, or get the clearance to do the single items that you want. Just be careful with clients, guys, because they're your source of income, right? Treat them like their clients. Treat them like they're your paycheck or your boss, because really that's what they are. Clients are your boss, your new boss. All right, I think we're gonna end her there. You guys give Brian a big thank you for another great webinar, staying on for almost 3 hours now. Great training.
Appreciate
another
it.
killer training.
I know I learned a lot.
Yeah, tons. I'm actually on the other screen trying to update my maps listing.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. I really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure training you, and there's a lot to learn inside of Maps Liftoff Agency Black, so whoever's on the fence, definitely get in. That coupon code is going away, and the entire course is going away 9/15, so it's kind of your last chance at it.
Fuck the fence, Matt Lutzens.
We'll get this rendered as quickly as possible, guys, and get it back up on the replay page, and we'll email everybody. Herb, do you have the URL for the replay page? Just to go ahead and throw it up there now, in case somebody just wants to go check it out.
This one's going to be a lot faster too, I think, because we don't have to. We didn't have any
sound outages.
Issues. Yeah, this time.
Go ahead and drop that in the chat box to everybody right now. Guys, for those of you that missed the first one or want to rewatch the first one, it's already up there, ready to go. And This one will be up probably in.
Yeah, I sent it to Brian. It's to the entire audience. There you go, guys. I just put the replays link in your chat box.
All right, whoever wants to click it now. We are about to sign this off and go get some dinner.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
once again. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you once again, Brian, for an exceptional job and some great training. Thank you, Hurt, for doing what you do. And yeah, that's all we got, guys. We'll catch y'all next time.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.